Chapter 1340. Southern Region Biming Town. In the ancient era, the Biming family was originally on par with the three aristocratic families. However, as time passed, the Biming family's territory was mostly devoured by the three aristocratic families. Right now, this town was the only one left, and it was surrounded by the three aristocratic families. It was impossible for the clansmen of the Kitami clan to leave the area controlled by the three aristocratic families. The Biming family was already dead in name only, if not for the fact that the three aristocratic families were interested in the legend of the Biming family and their so-called guarded secret. The Biming family would have been destroyed long ago. Although they were billions of miles apart, Qinglian's true body could still sense the situation of the dragon's true bodies and was relieved. Right now, the only thing Su Zimo was worried about was Night Spirit. They were blown away by the void turbulence and Qinglian's true body, and the dragon's true bodies were teleported to another place billions of miles away. He did not know how Night Spirit was doing, and if he was still drifting in the void turbulence. Right then, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat, and his gaze penetrated the window and landed on the young girl in the courtyard. Right now, a year and a half had passed since Su Zimo imparted the Tao. During this period of time, Kitsune could be said to have been reborn, and her cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. A month ago, she had already cultivated to the Tsunami Blood Realm. Under normal circumstances, one could attempt to condense the Blood Qi Jin Dan after cultivating one's bloodline to the level of lead and mercury. However, Su Zimo had extremely high expectations for Kitsune. He was teaching Biming Shui according to the highest level. Therefore, Su Zimo did not let Kitsune rush to condense the Blood Qi Jin Dan. Instead, he continued to cultivate her bloodline. With a solid foundation, Kitsune's future path would be even wider, and her achievements would be limitless. However, it was much easier to condense the Blood Qi Jin Dan after cultivating to the Tsunami Blood Realm. It could be said that success came naturally. In just a month's time, Kitsune had touched the threshold of the Qi and Blood Jin Dan. Just now, Su Zimo clearly felt that Kitsune's aura had changed. Initially, Kitsune had cultivated to the Tsunami Blood Realm, and her blood Qi was surging. Even if she did not move, others would not be able to ignore her. Blood Qi soared into the sky, extremely exuberant. Biming Shui stood there like a pure-blooded ferocious beast. Fortunately, during this period of time no one came. Biming Ao also did not return. Otherwise, if he saw Kitsune like this, his jaw would drop. But now, the qi and blood in Kitsune's body suddenly converged rapidly, as if they had all condensed into a single point in an instant. Kitsune's aura became restrained again. Now that quiet girl seemed to have returned. However, those with good eyesight could still see that the girl today was much stronger than the Biming Shui of a month ago when her qi and blood were soaring to the sky. Wu Dao's sixth transformation, Blood Qi Jin Dan, was complete. In the courtyard, Kitsune sensed the situation in her body and turned around with a delighted expression, wanting to share her joy with Su Zimo immediately. The moment she turned around, she saw that Su Zimo was already standing not far away, looking at her with a smile. "Mr. Su, I've condensed the Blood Qi Jin Dan," Kitsune said happily. "Yes," Su Zimo nodded gently. "Very good. Continue cultivating and don't slack off." "Thank you, sir." Kitsune bowed deeply to Su Zimo. "If not for you, I'm afraid I would still be lingering around Wu Dao's first transformation. Every drink and every peck is predestined." Su Zimo said, "It's also karma that I've bestowed upon you this opportunity." Kitsune was in a daze. Her beautiful eyes stared at the green-robed man before her without blinking. Her gaze was a little dazed and her heart was filled with confusion. Kitsune would not believe that the green-robed man was not a cultivator. However, if he was a cultivator, he did not have the aura of a cultivator at all. His face was yellow and he looked sickly. Anyone who saw him would only think that he was a sickly and weak scholar. Kitsune had asked Su Zimo before. The latter did not explain in detail, and merely brushed it off by saying that he was slightly injured. For more than a year, Kitsune's condition was getting better. However, Su Zimo's condition did not improve at all. Kitsune was somewhat worried as well. Although she had only been with Su Zimo for more than a year, Kitsune had already developed an inexplicable trust and reliance towards Suzimo. Kitsune was afraid that Suzimo would leave her one day. "Mr. Su, your injuries?" Kitsune asked cautiously with a concerned expression. "It's fine." Suzimo shook his head. Right then Suzimo frowned. His gaze crossed the courtyard and landed outside Baiming Town, as though it had passed through the layers of voids. "Trouble is here for you," Suzimo said indifferently. Ah, Kitsune was still oblivious. Even though Suzimo's essence spirit was restrained, his hearing and vision were still present, and he caught sight of the situation outside Baiming Town right away. Before long, Kitsune's expression changed as she heard the commotion as well. Turning around with a dark expression, she looked at the entrance. A menacing demon beast was the first to appear at the entrance. It was a Jindan realm bloodshed leopard, an ancient remnant beast. Its bloodline had mutated, and it was emerald green in color. It was extremely fast and agile, and hunted living beings for fun. It was extremely savage. Riding on the bloodshed leopard was a handsome cultivator of Jindan realm, Nangongyu. Compared to Dongfang Xian and the others, Nangongyu's thoughts ran deeper. A few years ago, he had been trying to get close to Kitsune in order to uncover the secrets of the Baiming family. Although Nangongyu was only a side relative of the Nangong family, her status was much higher than Kitsune's. That was the reason why Nangongyu was willing to lower himself and pursue Kitsune, attracting the envy of many Baiming clansmen. Even Baiming Ao was in favor of it. If she could become Dao companions with Nangongyu, at the very least, Kitsune would be able to escape the predicament of being bullied by other aristocratic families. Unfortunately, after the conflict between Kitsune and Dongfang Ji, Nangongyu finally revealed his true colors. He did not dare to get too close to Kitsune for fear of offending Dongfang Ji. Dongfang Ji was a direct descendant of the Dongfang family, and her status was far above his. Furthermore, Kitsune's Jindan was shattered and she was crippled. No matter how beautiful she was, she only had a lifespan of 100 years. A beautiful woman would age easily. After a few decades, Nangongyu would still be handsome, but Baiming Shui would already be old. That was the reason why Nangongyu came to lay her cards on the table with Kitsune a year ago. Although the Baiming family had declined, Kitsune was still extremely proud deep in her heart, and did not treat him nicely at all. "Shui, I'm here to see you." Nangongyu rode on the back of the blood jade leopard, and looked down at Kitsune with a smile. To cultivate the Wu Dao, there was no spirit chi to begin with. That was why Nangongyu could not tell Kitsune's cultivation realm. Furthermore, Kitsune had cultivated to the 6th transformation of the Wu Dao. Her blood chi was restrained and condensed into a Jindan that lay dormant in her body. Without activating it, her terrifying blood chi would not be revealed at all. Chapter 1341. Don't call me that. It's disgusting. Kitsune glanced at Nangongyu and said coldly, "Bitch, don't be so shameless." There were 3 foundation establishment cultivators behind Nangongyu. They were all Nangongyu's servants. One of the servants scolded Kitsune fiercely. Baiming Shui's gaze fell on the servant. She didn't say a word. Nangongyu smiled, and was not angry. "Shui, I'm calling you that because of our old relationship, and I want to give you a chance. You're a smart person. You should know that my patience is running out." Although Nangongyu was smiling, there was a trace of coldness in her tone. "There's no old relationship between us." Kitsune waved her hand and said, "If there's nothing else, you guys can leave." "Leave?" Nangongyu's expression turned cold. "Kitsune, if you still don't tell me the Baiming family's secret, I have many ways to deal with you. You're already a cripple. Although I don't like you, the servants who follow me like you very much." This idea could be said to be extremely sinister. Even Suzimo narrowed his eyes when he heard that. A murderous intent flashed across his eyes. However, he did not intend to make a move. It was just like how Dayu treated him back then. Unless it was a power that Kitsune could not resist, he would not interfere. Instead, he would let Kitsune deal with it herself. Hee. A servant's eyes wandered unscrupulously over Baiming Shui's body. He smiled evilly and said, "Little girl, how about going back with me? I guarantee that I'll dote on you." Another servant said with a smile, "Old Hu, don't hog all the food." They're still us brothers. Kitsune didn't say a word as her gaze swept past the 3 servants. Nangongyu said calmly, Kitsune, if I take you away and give you to one of my servants, no one in the Baiming family will dare to stop me. No one can save you. Tell me the secret. This is your last chance. In the entire Dark North town, the highest level of cultivation was only at the nascent Soul Realm, although their cultivation was 1 level higher than Nangongyu's. And although Nangongyu was only a branch of the Nangong family, the Kitami clan still did not dare to stop Nangongyu. With an expressionless face, Kitsune slowly said, Nangongyu, I'll also give you 1 last chance. If you turn around and leave now, I can let you live. What did you say? Nangongyu seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. She was so angry that she laughed and said, You're a cripple, and you want to let me live? Oh, Nangongyu suddenly said, I remember now. You seem to be cultivating some bullshit Wu Dao. Why, after more than a year, you've mastered Wu Dao and dare to threaten me? Bitch, I think you don't know what's good for you. How dare you provoke my young master? Young master, let us take this bitch down. The 3 servants stood out and stared at Kitsune with evil intentions. They sneered and waited for Nangongyu's order. I'm just giving Nangongyu a chance. Kitsune's eyes were cold as she looked at the 3 servants not far away. She slowly said, As for the 3 of you, none of you can leave today. Kitsune had the bloodline of the Baiming family. Even if the Kitami clan had declined, she still had her pride. Or else, she wouldn't have fought with Dongfeng over a treasure. Not to mention, after more than a year, Kitsune had been cultivating Wu Dao. Her heart had become more determined and unshakable. In the martial arts world, one needed to be able to settle grudges as quickly as possible. These 3 servants had no filter and said those dirty words to her. Kitsune already had killing intent and didn't plan on letting them leave. You're still threatening us? One of the servants showed a ferocious look. He slapped his storage bag, and just as he took out his flying sword, he saw a blur in front of him. The speed was too fast. This person couldn't react at all. Bang! Kitsune stepped forward and came in front of this servant. She stretched out her hand and clenched it into a fist. She punched the servant's chest. There wasn't any clever move. This punch was just straightforward. However, this servant couldn't defend against it, and was sent flying like an arrow, crashing into the wall of the courtyard. The servant's eyes were widened, and his face was filled with disbelief. His chest had already caved in deeply, and he slid down the wall slowly, no longer breathing. Kitsune's casual punch smashed the bones in this person's chest into smithereens. A spiderweb-like crack appeared on the wall behind this person. The power of that punch was terrifying. Pust! When the other 2 servants saw that, they could not help but gasp. Although they were Foundation Establishment cultivators, they were still shocked when they saw that terrifying burst of power. While he was distracted, Baiming Shui had already arrived in front of another servant. She stretched out her fair and delicate palm, and with a backhand slap, it landed on the top of the servant's head. Snap! Instantly, the servant's neck was broken. That person's head was pressed into his chest by Kitsune's palm, and he died on the spot. Bitch, why you? The last servant was so scared that his face was drained of color, and he could not even speak clearly. Kitsune came before that person and said indifferently, You should leave too. You'll have company on the road to Acheron. Piak! Kitsune reached out and slapped that person across the face. That person's head spun around his neck more than 10 times, before coming to a stop. He was already dead. With a thud, the corpse fell to the ground. The entire process took less than 3 breaths. 3 Foundation Establishment cultivators died on the spot. Suzumo nodded to himself. When Kitsune quietened down, she looked like a weak and gentle girl. However, if they were to make a move, they would kill decisively, without the slightest hesitation, clean and efficient. Roar! It was only at this moment that Nangongyu reacted. The bloodshed leopard beneath him growled and roared threateningly at Kitsune. However, it did not dare to advance rashly. As a demon, it was the most sensitive to danger. Just now, although Kitsune did not release her true blood chi when she attacked, some of it was still revealed. The bloodshed leopard sensed a hint of danger from Kitsune. That feeling was even more terrifying than facing a pure-blooded ferocious beast. Therefore, although the bloodshed leopard was at Jin Dan realm, it did not dare to act rashly. By the time Nan Gongyu reacted, the 3 servants were already dead. Even if he wanted to save them, it was too late. Kitsune, how dare you? Nan Gongyu's expression was dark as he exuded the aura of a Jin Dan realm and said coldly, "How dare you kill my servants? You must have a death wish. Killing your servants is only the beginning." Kitsune's gaze landed on the bloodshed leopard, and she said indifferently, "This beast is roaring at me. I don't like it." Before she finished speaking, Kitsune attacked brazenly. Chapter 1342. Roar. Sensing danger, the bloodshed leopard exerted strength with its limbs without waiting for Nan Gongyu's orders, and dodged to the side with a burst of blood chi. As an ancient remnant beast, the bloodshed leopard relied on its speed the most. However, no matter how fast it was, Bai Ming Shui was even faster. Swoosh! Kitsune's blood chi spread out as well. In fact, she did not even circulate her blood chi to its limits, and merely circulated it slightly to release a shocking amount of power. In the blink of an eye, she caught up to the bloodshed leopard. Standing in front of the bloodshed leopard, Kitsune looked extremely skinny, and did not even reach the height of the bloodshed leopard's limbs. However, the bloodshed leopard could sense a ferocious aura surging towards it, as though it was not facing a human girl, but a pure-blooded ferocious beast. The bloodshed leopard opened its mouth, and bared its menacing fangs that shone coldly as it bit down towards Kitsune. Kitsune's expression was unchanged as she reached out with both hands. Just before the bloodshed leopard's mouth closed, she gripped the upper and lower jaws of the bloodshed leopard tightly. One had to know that this kind of ferocious beast had the strongest bite force. However, the bloodshed leopard could not bite down no matter how hard it tried. On the contrary, under Kitsune's tugging, its jaws widened and showed signs of tearing. Ooh, ooh. The bloodshed leopard had a pained expression, and its initial ferocity was long gone as it let out a pleading sound from the depths of its throat. *TCH, how dare you? Enraged, Nan Gongyu slapped her storage bag and summoned a flying sword, injecting spirit energy into it. For spirit lights shone from the sword, and it shone brightly. That flying sword was a supreme-grade spirit weapon. As a collateral descendant of the Nangong family, it was already rather rare for her to possess a supreme-grade spirit weapon. The moment Nan Gongyu summoned her flying sword, Kitsune exerted strength in her arms. Shing! Blood splattered through the air. The ancient remnant beast of the Jin Dan realm, the bloodshed leopard, was torn into 2 by Kitsune's bare hands. There was a rumbling sound. The bloodjade leopard's corpse fell to the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. It was already dead, and only its huge body was still twitching unconsciously. Nan Gongyu did not expect this. She was almost flipped over and fell out. He could never have imagined that Kitsune, a person whose Jin Dan had been crippled, could possess such strength that she could tear an ancient remnant beast into 2. Even in the world of cultivation, some of the geniuses from the super sects that specialized in body refinement might not be as good as him. Quick! Nan Gongyu scolded softly and pointed her finger. Whoosh! Sword light flashed, and the supreme-grade flying sword arrived before Kitsune in the blink of an eye. Its sharpness was biting cold, and its speed was shocking. Kitsune didn't move at all. She didn't even try to dodge. Nan Gongyu's eyes lit up. As long as this supreme-grade flying sword pierced Kitsune, he believed that even if Kitsune had 10 lives, it would not be enough to kill her. All of a sudden, just as the flying sword was less than 3 inches away from Kitsune's face, Kitsune suddenly struck. She did not make any unnecessary movements, and merely reached out with her fair, tender palm to grab the supreme-grade flying sword. When he saw that, Nan Gongyu could not help but burst into laughter. Haha, you're really asking for it. A supreme-grade flying sword isn't something a body of flesh and blood can defend against. Furthermore, you're only a cripple. Suddenly, Nan Gongyu could not continue. To his horror, he realized that he had already lost control of that supreme-grade flying sword. The spirit energy on the sword had already been dissipated by Kitsune. What was even more frightening was that Kitsune was holding the sharp sword with her bare hands. However, There was not a single trace of blood in her palm. What was that? She was completely unharmed after receiving a supreme-grade spirit weapon with her bare hands? Was she seeing a ghost? Blood drained from Nangongyu's face as he looked at Kitsune with a bewildered expression. Suddenly, he realized that he could no longer see through Kitsune. He did not know what sort of existence he was facing. In fact, a thought flashed through his mind. Was Kitsune before him possessed by some powerful cultivator? Right then, he swept his gaze and inadvertently caught sight of the green-robed man standing at the entrance of the house not far away. His heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Bai Mingshue's change was related to this person? If he was not wrong, this person had been here a year and a half ago. To think that he had not left yet. However, Nangongyu could not tell the depths of this green-robed man. In his senses, this green-robed man was sickly and skinny. He looked like a down-and-out scholar who posed no threat at all. Crack! Just as Nangongyu was letting his imagination run wild, he heard a crisp sound and his heart skipped a beat. Instinctively, he looked over and could not help but be scared out of his wits. His supreme-grade flying sword was snapped in half by Kitsune's hands. What sort of power was that? Looking at Nangongyu expressionlessly, Kitsune threw the broken sword on the ground and strode over. Nangongyu retreated instinctively with a horrified expression. "WW, what are you trying to do?" Nangongyu's voice trembled and he was flustered. "I gave you a chance," Kitsune said indifferently. At that moment, Nangongyu recalled what Kitsune said to him just now. However, he scoffed at it and did not take it to heart. "Shui or I," Nangongyu was about to speak. However, he saw Kitsune frowning in displeasure. Nangongyu's heart skipped a beat, and he changed his words hurriedly. "Fellow Taoist Dark North, I know my mistake. As long as you let me live, I won't disturb you again in the future." Kitsune did not say anything, and merely glared at Nangongyu coldly. Taking a deep breath, Nangongyu gradually calmed down and said in a deep voice, "Fellow Taoist Dark North, it won't do you any good if you kill me. Although I'm a collateral descendant of the Nangong family, don't forget that my father is Jining Jinjuan, and is close to many direct descendants of the Nangong family. If I die, Kitsune won't be able to live either. As for your brother, he'll definitely be implicated as well." Kitsune lowered her gaze. Nangongyu's words could be considered to have hit her soft spot. If she was alone, she would have just killed Nangongyu and settled her grudge as soon as possible. However, she still had Bai Ming-ao. "Nangongyu, you can leave." After a long time, Kitsune spoke slowly. "I hope you can fulfill your promise, and don't come looking for me again. I can tell you that the Kirami clan has no secrets. You don't have to waste any more effort." Nangongyu heaved a sigh of relief. Unknowingly, he was already drenched in cold sweat. Earlier on, his life was truly hanging by a thread. Goodbye. Nangongyu did not dare to stay any longer for fear that Kitsune would change her mind. He hurriedly turned and left. Su Zimo stood at the side and did not say anything. He did not have any intention to attack either. He could not help but recall the scene of him letting Zhou Dingyun go that night out of helplessness. Just like him, Bai Mingxue had her own difficulties. Chapter 1343. Bang! The door of the Nangong residence was kicked open and shattered into two. "Who's there?" A group of guards was alarmed and rushed over, hollering loudly. However, when they saw who it was, the guards were stunned and said instinctively, "Young master, you?" The person who barged in was none other than Nangongyu. At that moment, Nangongyu's expression was dark and his handsome face was filled with killing intent as he cursed repeatedly. The guards exchanged glances, but naturally did not dare to stop him. Nangongyu passed through the corridor and headed straight for the backyard. Before long, he arrived before a room. Taking a deep breath, he raised his hand and knocked on the door. "Come in." A deep voice sounded from within the room. Nangongyu pushed the door open and entered. The room was extremely spacious, and a cultivator sat in the middle. His long beard hung in front of his chest, and he had a dignified gaze. That cultivator was the owner of this residence, Nangong Sheng. Even the branch family of the Nangong family had an extremely prestigious status in the southern region. Naturally, it was not difficult for them to own a residence as such. Furthermore, Nangong Sheng was a Jining Jinjuan. What's the matter for you to be so impatient? Nangongsheng asked indifferently. Father, didn't you ask me to get close to Kitsune and find an opportunity to find out about the secrets guarded by the Baiming family? Nangongyu asked. Yes. Nangongsheng nodded and said, however, that girl Baiming Shui offended Dongfangji. Her Jindan has been destroyed, and she has become a cripple. You can't get too close to her. That's right. Just now, I brought 3 servants to Baiming Town to teach Kitsune a lesson. Who knew? Nangongyu paused for a moment and grit his teeth with a hateful expression. Kitsune attacked and killed my 3 Foundation establishment servants. Furthermore, my spirit beast mount, the bloodshed leopard, was torn into 2 by her. Nangongsheng frowned. Nangongyu continued, that's not all. Even the supreme grade flying sword that father gave me was snapped by that SL*T with her bare hands. This time round, even Nangongsheng's expression changed slightly. She could snap a supreme grade spirit weapon with her bare hands? What sort of power was that? He was Jining Jinjuan. But even he could not do that with his physique. His Jindan has been destroyed, but he can still release such power. Could it be? A glint flashed across Nangongsheng's eyes as he pondered. Nangongyu asked, Father, you mean? Perhaps it's because of the secret that the Baiming family is guarding that Baiming Shui was able to rise again. Nangongsheng rejected. Is it because of Wu? Impossible. Nangongsheng shook his head. There are countless people who cultivate the Wu Dao. Which one of them can cultivate to such a level? Furthermore, it's only been a little more than a year. Unless Dao Lord Araki Takashi is resurrected, who else can cultivate the Wu Dao to such a level? Fufu. Nangongsheng sneered. Right then, a green-robed figure appeared in Nangongyu's mind. Father, a strange person appeared at Kitsune's place a year ago. He doesn't look like someone from Baiming Town or a cultivator. He's sickly. To think that he hasn't left Baiming Town yet. I have a feeling that there's something strange about that person. That's good as well. I'll make a trip to Baiming Town personally. Nangongsheng said coldly. Kill all the strange people. Father, be careful. Nangongyu was a little worried and reminded. Nangongsheng smiled gently. Don't worry. I don't believe that I can't take down a little girl as Jining Jinjuan. Wait for my news at home. I'll bring that girl back for you to deal with. Thank you, Father. Nangongyu was overjoyed. Baiming Town. Kitsune looked at the corpses in the courtyard and remained silent for a long time. There was a hint of worry between her brows. After a while, she turned around and looked at Su Zimo, whispering, Mr. Su, why don't you go out and hide for a while? I'm worried that Nangongyu will make a comeback and implicate you. Since you're worried, why did you let him go? Su Zimo asked. Kitsune smiled bitterly and shook her head. She had no choice. If she killed Nangongyu, Nangongyu's father would definitely descend on Baiming Town. At that time, it would be a calamity for her and Baiming Ao. If she let Nangongyu go, she would at least have a chance. She was betting that Nangongyu would keep her promise and not come looking for her again. It's fine. You don't have to worry about me. Su Zimo smiled gently and returned to his room. He crossed his legs and sat down, closing his eyes to rest. The night gradually darkened, and the moon was dark. The entire courtyard was silent. All of a sudden, Su Zimo opened his eyes, and it was as though a bolt of lightning flashed through the darkness. There's really someone who's blind. Su Zimo murmured softly. Although he could not use his essence spirit, his eyesight, hearing and other senses were still extremely sharp, and he could sense everything that happened thousands of kilometers away. In the room beside him, Kitsune was still recuperating with her eyes closed, and did not notice anything. However, Su Zimo had already noticed that 3 Jining Jinjuan were speeding over on flying swords from the forest hundreds of kilometers away from Baiming Town. Su Zimo glanced at Kitsune. Kitsune had just condensed her blood Qi Jin Dan, and would not stand a chance against a Jining Jinjuan. Furthermore, there were 3 of them. Su Zimo moved and leaped down from the bed, landing silently like a feather. Although he could not use dermic powers or spirit consciousness, the strength of Qinglian's true body was not to be underestimated. Su Zimo passed through the courtyard and leaped, striding out of Baiming Town without alerting anyone. Master, We'll reach Baiming town in another 100 kilometers. Among the 3 Jinying Jinjuan, apart from Nangong Sheng, the other 2 were servants of the Nangong family, and were now at nascent Soul Realm. An old servant said, "Master, there's actually no need for you to follow us. There's no need to mobilize so many people just to deal with a little girl. We'll just take action and bring her back." "It's fine," Nangong Sheng said. "I've been thinking about it for a while and decided to take a walk. Furthermore, I heard from you, or that there's a strange green-robed man by Kitsun's side. I was just about to take a look." Nangong Sheng and the other 2 rode on their flying swords and chatted as they walked. Right then, one of the old servants frowned and pointed into the distance. "There's a green-robed man standing there in the middle of the night. I wonder what he's doing out there." The moment the old servant said that, he realized something. Green-robed man? Nangong Sheng seemed to have sensed something as well, and looked over. A green-robed man stood there in the distance. His face was yellow and he looked sickly. There was no aura of spirit energy, and he looked like a mortal who had yet to recover from a serious illness. This green-robed man was exactly as Nangong Yu had described. Chapter 1344. Nangong Sheng and the other 2 were getting closer to the green-robed man. The 3 of them glared at the green-robed man intently, exuding a powerful might, as though they wanted to see through him. However, the green-robed man's expression did not change despite being stared at by the 3 Jinying Jinjuan. He did not seem embarrassed at all, and was extremely calm. "Be careful, there's something strange about this person." Nangong Sheng sent a voice transmission secretly. The 2 old servants had lived for hundreds of years and were cautious. "I'm Nangong Sheng. May I know how to address you, fellow Taoist?" Nangong Sheng announced the name of the Nangong family right away. In the southern region, the names of the 3 aristocratic families were more useful than any other Dao titles. Nangong Sheng could not figure out the background of the green-robed man, and did not act rashly either, probing instead. "Who I am is not important." The green-robed man shook his head. "What are you doing here?" one of the old servants asked in a deep voice. The green-robed man smiled gently. "I'm waiting for you guys." "Waiting for us?" The old servant frowned. The green-robed man was none other than Su Zimo, who came from Baiming town. Su Zimo raised his head slightly and looked at the skies. Retracting his smile, he said indifferently, "It's getting late. I'll send you guys on your way." The moment he said that, Nangong Sheng and the other 2 felt a chilling intent envelop them. Swash! The 3 of them merely felt their vision blur as a figure swayed, and a tragic aura surged towards them. It was too fast. Qinglian's true body did not use her full strength, and merely burst forth with her body. Nangong Sheng and the other 2 could not react in time. Among them, the 2 old servants reacted even slower. Nangong Sheng retreated immediately, but the 2 old servants were half a step slower. Su Zimo arrived before one of the old servants, and slapped the old servant's head with a flip of his palm, shattering the latter's skull instantly, and destroying his essence spirit. The old servant didn't even make a sound before his corpse fell from the sky. "You!" The other old servant was enraged, and slapped his storage bag to summon his flying sword. However, Su Zimo had already arrived before him. After killing one person, Su Zimo turned around and rushed towards another. The entire process was as smooth as flowing water. Just now, the sickly and thin scholar had turned into a murderous figure in the blink of an eye. Su Zimo didn't make any unnecessary movements. He stretched out his finger and lightly tapped the old servant's forehead. This old servant, seeing Su Zimo's finger reach over, couldn't dodge at all. A ruthless glint flashed in his eyes. Since he was going to die anyway, he might as well trade a life for a life. The old servant didn't care about Su Zimo's finger. Instead, he activated his divine sense and summoned his flying sword. Then, he stabbed it towards Su Zimo's forehead. Puff! Su Zimo's finger arrived first and landed on the old servant's forehead. Instantly, a bloody hole appeared on the old servant's forehead and blood gushed out. His essence spirit was destroyed on the spot, and he died. At the same time, the old servant's flying sword had already pierced Su Zimo's forehead. However, Su Zimo did not even blink, and allowed the old servant's flying sword to pierce him. Clang! When the flying sword struck Su Zimo's face, there was a crisp sound, as though metal had clashed. The flying sword fell. Nangong Sheng's eyelids twitched. That flying sword was a middle-grade perfected Lord Dermic weapon, and was extremely sharp. But now, it didn't even leave a single mark on the green-robed cultivator's skin, let alone injure him. What sort of body is that? How is that possible? Nangong Sheng's mind was in a mess as countless questions surged through his mind. His cultivation base, physical strength, combat strength, and chi and blood were much stronger than the two old slaves. Even so, he did not dare to fight against the green-robed cultivator at that moment. Without turning back, Nangong Sheng turned and fled. Boom! All of a sudden, a deafening sound echoed from behind him. The entire ground trembled. Instinctively, Nangong Sheng turned back and his expression changed. The green-robed cultivator stomped on the ground with a single foot, and a gigantic pit appeared on the ground. He soared into the air at an extremely fast speed, and caught up to Nangong Sheng in the blink of an eye. Go! Nangong Sheng did not have time to think as his glabella shone, and a black shadow burst forth, charging towards Su Zimo viciously. Biting the tip of his tongue gently, Nangong Sheng spat out a mouthful of essence blood onto the black shadow. The moment he spat out the essence blood, his expression turned sluggish. He could no longer care about anything else. After being tainted by Nangong Sheng's essence blood, the black shadow expanded with the wind and instantly turned into a gigantic tripod that was half the height of a person. There were 4 dermic patterns etched on the tripod. It was a supreme-grade perfected Lord Dermic weapon. Among the 3 aristocratic families, the Nangong family placed more emphasis on weapon refinement and elixir refinement. Most of the weapons used by aristocratic families were tripods and furnaces as well. When the gigantic tripod charged over, Su Zimo's expression was unchanged as he reached out and pressed against it. Bang! The gigantic tripod collided with Su Zimo's palm. Su Zimo's figure did not budge at all. Although the gigantic tripod was a supreme-grade perfected Lord Dermic weapon, the power it released was negligible against Su Zimo. Su Zimo reached out with his other palm and hugged the gigantic tripod with both hands right in front of him, exerting strength with both arms. The gigantic tripod was crushed by Su Zimo's hands at a speed visible to the naked eye. Thereafter, Su Zimo's palms flew and rubbed it up, down, left and right a few times. Just now it was still a gigantic tripod that was half the height of a person. In the blink of an eye, it was crushed into a gigantic metal ball by Su Zimo. That gigantic tripod was a supreme-grade perfected Lord Dermic weapon. However, Qinglian's true body was a grade 6 creation Qinglian that was refined with many divine weapons and was comparable to a Khanate Dao Lord Dermic weapon. There was a difference of 2 major cultivation realms between the two. Nangong Sheng's face turned pale, and his scalp tingled. His legs went limp, and he wanted to escape, but he could not move no matter what. Su Zimo grinned at him and tossed the gigantic metal ball out. Whoosh! The wind howled. A black shadow descended. Bang! Nangong Sheng could not react at all, and was struck heavily in the chest by the gigantic metal ball. Instantly, his tendons and bones shattered and his organs were smashed into pieces. His body was already devoid of life. Shoo! A streak of light escaped from Nangong Sheng's head. His essence spirit had left his body. Normally speaking, the essence spirit of a nascent soul was extremely fragile. Once it left the body, it would be difficult for it to survive even if there was no danger. However, at that moment, Nangong Sheng no longer had a way out. The moment his essence spirit left, he discovered a shadow looming over. His essence spirit had already fallen into Su Zimo's palm. The green-robed man with yellowish cheeks happened to be looking at him calmly. The corners of his lips curled into a fake smile, and his expression was filled with mockery. You, who are you? Nangong Sheng's essence spirit roared with a trembling voice. My name is Su Zimo. Su Zimo smiled gently. Nangong Sheng was stunned. That was an extremely unfamiliar name that he had never heard of before. Thereafter the green-robed man continued. Dao title Araki Takeshi. Nangong Sheng's eyes widened gradually as endless shock filled every single inch of his essence spirit. Immediately after, cracks appeared on Nangong Sheng's essence spirit, and its light dimmed. His life force drained, and he was destroyed instantly. Jining Jinjuan's essence spirit was extremely weak to begin with. When he heard the words Araki Takashi, Nangong Sheng was scared to death. Chapter 1345. Su Zimo was stunned as well when he looked at Nangong Sheng, who was scared to death. Is my Dao title already that scary? Su Zimo laughed self-deprecatingly. After the Battle of Heaven and Earth Valley, the words Dao Lord Araki Takashi had almost become a taboo. The cultivators of Tianhuang mainland were shocked at the mention of it. That battle was way too tragic. Although Dao Lord Araki Takashi was eventually exiled by a half-martial ancestor, there were way too many conjoint body mighty figures that died in Heaven and Earth Valley. Apart from the catastrophe of the North region 10,000 years ago, there was no other battle that could compare to this one. If not for the presence of the experts of the primordial races and the descent of the half-martial ancestors, the experts of the super sex would have been suppressed by Araki Takashi. Although the three aristocratic families were not involved, the cultivation world of the South region was still shocked when the news spread. Nangong Sheng was considered a figure in the vicinity of Baiming Town. However, he was merely Jining Jinjuan. He was already shocked by Su Zimo's methods and was on the verge of breaking down. Now that he heard the words Araki Takashi, his soul dissipated and his Dao dissipated. Su Zimo took off their storage bags and stuffed them into his robes. His essence spirit was restrained, and he could not use dermic powers. It was also inconvenient for him to destroy the corpses. As such, he carried their corpses and threw them into the nearest forest. At that moment, the night was dark. In the forest, birds and beasts ran amok. Roars rose and fell one after another. Every corner of the forest was playing out a massacre. The corpses of the three Jining Jinjuan would be eaten by demon beasts before long after they were thrown in. After doing that, Su Zimo clapped his hands and turned to leave, returning to Baiming Town. Baiming Shui was still breathing in the room. She did not notice anything from the beginning to the end. She did not know that someone had helped her resolve a life and death calamity earlier on. Su Zimo smiled indifferently and returned to his room, closing his eyes to rest. He did not intend to tell Kitsune about this. In Su Zimo's eyes, the three Jining Jinjuan were as insignificant as ants. This matter was as easy as lifting a finger. The next morning, Kitsune made breakfast and sent it to Su Zimo's room. Su Zimo casually took out the 3 storage pouches from last night and handed them to Kitsune, saying, "Take them, I have no use for them." This is... Kitsune took the 3 storage bags and glanced at them. Her heart skipped a beat. "Is this Jining Jinjuan's storage bag?" Kitsune asked tentatively. "I guess so," Su Zimo said. Kitsune asked again, "Where did Mr. Su get it?" "I picked it up when I went out last night," Su Zimo said casually. Kitsune pursed her lips and did not continue asking. In fact, there was a small unique symbol on the 3 storage bags. Unless one looked carefully, it was hard to notice. However, Kitsune was a member of the Kitami clan after all. Naturally, she was extremely familiar with the symbol. If she was not mistaken, the symbol on the 3 storage bags was from the Nangong family. These were the storage bags of the Nangong family, the 3rd Jining Jinjuan. Even though Su Zimo said it calmly, Kitsune could sense a hint of bloodthirst in his tone. Kitsune was smart and did not continue asking. She kept the 3 storage bags in her own storage bag. There was a spirit consciousness seal on Jining Jinjuan's storage bag. Her cultivation realm was not high enough, and she could not erase it yet. She had to cultivate her essence spirit first. There's still more than a year before the aristocratic family competition, right? Su Zimo asked casually. Yes. Kitsune nodded. Su Zimo raised his head and looked at Kitsune, asking again, "Do you want revenge?" Kitsune lowered her head slightly. After a long silence, she said slowly, "Yes." Su Zimo could tell that there was a hint of melancholy in this young girl's eyes. The Baiming family had long declined. Compared to the Dongfang family, it was like an ant facing a divine elephant. Kitsune and Dongfangji had a huge difference in status as well. Dongfangji was high and mighty like a princess. On the other hand, she was just a lowly mortal struggling in the mortal world. Even though she had already cultivated the blood Qi Jin Dan, and her combat strength was much stronger than before. She could not escape her current fate. Her life was still in the hands of the Dongfang family. Go and cultivate. You've just cultivated the blood Qi Jin Dan. Don't slack off. Su Zimo smiled and said, the last 3 transformations of Wu Dao's 9 transformations are the essence of the Martial Sutra. If you can cultivate to the last transformation, you can suppress all the prodigies of the younger generation of the 3 aristocratic families in the aristocratic family competition a year later. Bai Mingshui nodded solemnly. Actually, she still felt bitter in her heart. Even if her combat strength was heaven-defying, she could not offend the prodigies of the 3 aristocratic families. She was fine. At most she would die. However, she was worried that she would implicate her brother and the Kitami clan. There were still many restraints and fetters in her heart. The reason why she let Nangongyu go yesterday was also because of various restraints. In the pugilistic world, there was no freedom. It was not that easy to take revenge. Su Zimo could naturally see the worries in Kitsun's heart. However, he did not say much. All these years, he had been hiding here and living in seclusion. He had almost never fought or revealed his identity. The reason why he wanted to give Kitsun enough time and space to grow. Once his identity was exposed, there would be endless trouble waiting for him. At that time, he would be too busy to take care of himself, and would not have the time and energy to teach Kitsun. However, just because Su Zimo did not make a move, it did not mean that he would not make a move. Right now, Su Zimo was like a sleeping true dragon, quiet and unmoving. Everything was calm. Once a true dragon opened its eyes, it would be shocking. The aristocratic family competition. Su Zimo narrowed his eyes and murmured. 10 days later at the Nangong residence. In the meeting hall, Nangongyu sat in the middle with a bewildered expression. A few bloodied clothes were piled at her feet, and there was a trace of fear in the depths of her eyes. A few elders sat below her with grim expressions. Does that mean that the old master and the other 2 are already dead? An elder asked with a frown. Nangongyu nodded and pointed at the bloodied clothes at her feet. There's no mistake. Father was wearing this Taoist robe before he left. An elder said with a puzzled expression. I went to the forest to take a look. The strongest cultivator was a Jin Dan realm spirit demon. How did the old master and the others die there? Could there be some powerful fiend demon hidden in there and killed the old master? Another elder said. Impossible. Nangongyu shook her head and gritted her teeth. How can there be such a coincidence? My father went to Baiming Town, and something happened to him. Are you saying that there's an expert in Baiming Town? An elder frowned. Right now, the strongest person in the Kitami clan is their clan leader, Jining Jinjuan. He doesn't have much lifespan left, and his combat strength can't even compare to mine. How can he be a match for the old master? It's not him. Nangongyu shook her head, as a sickly green figure flashed through her mind. Her heart skipped a beat as she murmured, could it be him? Chapter 1346. Who? An old man immediately asked. Nangongyu slowly shook her head and said, I'm not sure either. I only know that this person is wearing a green robe, and his face is yellow, as if he has not recovered from a serious illness. He also does not have any spiritual energy, no different from an ordinary person. This person is not from the Kitami clan. He suddenly appeared in Baiming Town about a year ago. An old man said doubtfully. No spiritual energy, could he be cultivating Wu Dao? Impossible. Nangongyu said. Wu Dao trains his body. How can he be as weak as him? Furthermore, even if he cultivates Wu Dao, after breaking through to the Jin Dan stage, he has to cultivate his primordial spirit. It is impossible for him to not have any spiritual energy fluctuations. Who cares? An old man with a fiery temper leaped up and said loudly, let's bring people over and capture all the people of Baiming Town. We'll just interrogate them one by one. If no one steps forward, we'll just kill all the people of Baiming Town. Nangongyu's expression changed slightly and she said in a low voice, Third uncle, don't be rash. What? The old man raised his eyebrows and said loudly, although our branch is a branch of the Nangong clan, we are not to be provoked by the people of Baiming Town. Your father is dead. How can we not take revenge for such a blood feud? Nangong Yu shook her head and said, "Third uncle, calm down and think carefully. In our residence, the strongest person is my father. If my father is already dead, we will only die for nothing if we act rashly." The old man's expression changed. In their branch, the person with the highest cultivation was Jining Jinjuan. If the person who killed Nangong Sheng was still in Baiming town, then they would only be seeking their own deaths if they charged over. At this thought, the old man secretly rejoiced and felt a sense of lingering fear. Then what do we do? Are we just going to ignore this matter? Another old man was indignant. If we can invite the powerhouses of the clan's direct line of descent to step in, this matter will be much easier to handle, another old man muttered. The Nangong family had many collateral bloodlines. There were at least 1,000 branches like Nangong Yu's, but there was only one direct branch. Therefore, although the surname was Nangong, there was a huge disparity between the status of the collateral branch and the direct branch. The difference in strength was also like the difference between heaven and earth. For example, among the collateral members of the Nangong family, the highest cultivation realm was only at the nascent soul realm, or the void return realm. If a clansman with a collateral bloodline could cultivate to the Dharma characteristic realm, they would have a chance to integrate into the direct lineage. As for the direct bloodlines of the 3 aristocratic families, there were many experts such as the Dharma Daojun, conjoint body mighty figures, and even Mahayana patriarchs. It was definitely not a fluke that the 3 aristocratic families were on par with the super sects of the immortal Buddhist and fiend sects. Therefore, among the thousands of branches, Nangong Yu's branch was completely insignificant and unremarkable. Even if they went to the direct line of descent and mentioned this matter, they might not be able to invite the powerhouses of the direct line of descent. After pondering for a long time, Nangong Yu said, "Why don't we put this matter aside for a period of time? I heard that Ling Shu will return from the Middle Continent in more than a year and bring his clansmen to Shimen Manor to participate in the aristocratic family competition." "Ling Shu? What Ling Shu?" an old man asked with a frown. Nangong Yu said in a deep voice, "He's a direct bloodline descendant of our Nangong family. When he was young, he was sent to the Middle Continent to cultivate. I heard that he joined one of the 4 unorthodox groups, and was even ranked on the Jin Dan phenomenon ranking. He can be considered as a true paragon of the Nangong family." "You have ties with that person?" The eyes of the few old men lit up. To be able to bring his clansmen to participate in the aristocratic family competition, he had to be at the void reversion realm, at the very least. All these years, there had not been a single void reversion in their branch. Nangong Yu shook her head. "There's no such thing. Father and I merely met him once. When he returns, we'll visit him personally and try our luck." "That's good as well." The few old men nodded. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, the aristocratic family competition of the southern region was approaching. Very few clansmen of the 3 aristocratic families of the southern region participated in the Jin Dan phenomenon ranking. However, among the 3 aristocratic families, there was a grand event that was on par with the Jin Dan phenomenon ranking, the aristocratic family competition that was held once every 100 years. The 3 aristocratic families would send out their younger generation disciples to compete in 2 major competitions. The first segment was a fight between foundation establishment cultivators. The second segment was a fight between perfected beings of Jin Dan. Naturally, the main event was the fight between perfected beings of Jin Dan. At that time, the paragons and monster incarnates of the 3 aristocratic families would appear to compete for a ranking in the aristocratic family competition and fight for the generous rewards to make their names known throughout the southern region. Although a fight as such was not as grand as the Jin Dan phenomenon ranking, it was still extremely intense with many powerful phenomenons clashing. Every single generation, 1 or 2 top monster incarnates and peerless geniuses would be born. This day, 3 figures stood on auspicious clouds in midair above the territory of the Nangong family. A man and 2 women walked over slowly, chatting happily. The man wore blue Taoist robes and had a dignified appearance. He pointed to the mountains and rivers in the distance and spoke in high spirits. One of the women's white robes fluttered in an ethereal manner. She was extremely beautiful, and every single action she made had the bearing of a major sect, as she pursed her lips and smiled from time to time. The other young woman was also slender and elegant. She was extremely lively as she chattered and danced with joy. She was extremely excited. Han Yin, look over there. The blue-robed man pointed to a courtyard in the distance. That's my residence. There's still a few days before the aristocratic family competition. Let's rest there first. Wow, it's so huge. The lively girl looked at the vast courtyard in the distance and was secretly speechless. This courtyard was like a paradise. There were mountains and rivers in the courtyard, and there were many servants, spirit gardens, beast pens. Everything was available. The white-robed woman called Han Yin was shocked as well as she exclaimed, "The three aristocratic families' power in the southern region is truly immense and unshakable. Just from this courtyard alone you can see it." Actually, in the ancient era, there were 4 aristocratic families in the southern region. However, one of the ancient aristocratic families declined and never rose again. The blue-robed man said casually. Pausing for a moment, the blue-robed man turned and smiled. Xian, you must be tired. Rest early today." The lively girl glanced sideways at the blue-robed man and pouted her lips, as though she could read his thoughts. "Why? Are you complaining that I'm disturbing you guys?" The blue-robed man coughed gently to hide his awkwardness when his thoughts were exposed. The white-robed woman spat softly as well and blushed slightly. The blue-robed man said, "Junior sister, what are you talking about? The reason why I invited you guys to the southern region is so that you guys can relax. Who knows? You might be able to sense an opportunity to break through to the void reversion realm and catch up to my cultivation realm. Furthermore, I'll be bringing the Nangong family over for the aristocratic family competition. At that time, it'll be quite lively." That's great, that's great." The lively girl clapped her hands excitedly. The white-robed girl was much quieter and merely smiled gently. Not long after, the 3 of them arrived in the sky above the mansion. The lively girl looked down and said, "What are those people doing? They seem to be from your Nangong family as well." Chapter 1347. A few cultivators stood at the entrance of the mansion, looking up at the blue-robed man, and the other 2 with respectful expressions and anticipation in their eyes. Those people were Nangong Yu, and the others who had rushed over from afar. Apart from Nangong Yu, the other 3 old men were Jining Jinjuan, his uncles. "I'm Nangong Yu. Greetings, Ling Shu." Before the blue-robed man had even descended, Nangong Yu had already bowed deeply and shouted loudly, "Ling Shu." On the auspicious cloud, the lively girl chuckled. "Senior brother Nangong, you're quite senior." The blue-robed man looked down at Nangong Yu and frowned. He could tell that Nangong Yu was a collateral bloodline of the Nangong family. However, he did not remember having any interactions with this person. "Do we know each other?" The blue-robed man and the 2 women walked down from the auspicious cloud and looked at Nangong Yu, who was bowing before him, asking indifferently. He did have the right to be proud. He was a void reversion, and this Nangong Yu was only a perfected Jin Dan. He was a direct descendant of the Nangong family. If it was any other time, he would not care about a collateral bloodline of the perfected Jin Dan. But now, with a beautiful woman by his side, he couldn't show too much coldness and decisiveness, so he asked a question symbolically. "Air." With an embarrassed expression, Nangong Yu chuckled dryly. "Many years ago, I met Ling Shu once. He might not remember me. Indeed, he doesn't remember." The blue-robed man nodded. The lively girl at the side burst into laughter. The white-robed woman glared at her. Thereafter, the lively girl seemed to realize that she was being impolite, and suppressed her laughter, while continuing to listen at the side. Nangong Yu let out a chuckle. The other nascent soul realm old men also had cautious expressions as they awkwardly smiled at the side. "Why are you looking for me?" the blue-robed man asked. "Yes, there is," Nangong Yu quickly said. "My father might have been harmed by someone from Baiming Town. I want to find Ling Shu to seek justice for me and take revenge." "Possible?" The blue-robed man frowned. "Definitely," Nangong Yu hurriedly corrected herself. "It must be someone from Baiming Town." The blue-robed man lost interest and said, The Kitami clan doesn't have many clansmen left. Why do you want to kill your father at the risk of being exterminated? This. Nangongyu hesitated for a moment and was stumped by the question. The blue-robed man continued. In addition, the three great clans have been suppressing the Kitami clan all these years. I remember that the Kitami clan doesn't have any experts left. How could they kill your father like that? The one who killed my father should be an outsider, Nangongyu hurriedly said. This person is rather mysterious, and I can't tell his cultivation realm. He always wears green robes and seems to be seriously ill, like a downtrodden scholar. Hearing the words green robes, the white-robed woman was slightly stunned. She seemed to have thought of something, and lowered her head slightly with a dim expression. Hanyan, what's wrong? The blue-robed man noticed the white-robed woman's abnormality, and asked with a voice transmission. It's nothing. The white-robed woman shook her head slightly and said, when this person mentioned green robes, I thought of Uncle Master. He also likes to wear green robes, but unfortunately, the white-robed woman sighed. Don't be sad. The blue-robed man sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness and said gently, Uncle Master is blessed by the heavens and was exiled to the void. Perhaps he's not dead yet. In the end, even he didn't believe it himself, and his tone gradually weakened. Nangongyu continued, please come forward and avenge me, Ling Shu. Nangongyu will remember this kindness and repay it with my life. In fact, asking this Ling Shu to take revenge was only one of Nangongyu's purposes. His more important purpose was to use this opportunity to get closer to this person and increase his chances of joining the direct line of descent in the future. The lively girl next to him couldn't help but say, if I were you and someone killed my father, I would definitely take revenge with my own hands. My cultivation isn't enough now, so I'll work hard to cultivate. Sooner or later, I'll personally take revenge for my father. Nangongyu smiled embarrassedly. His face was red and he was angry in his heart. However, he didn't know the girl's identity and didn't dare to rashly refute or argue. The blue-robed man also shrugged and waved his hand. Like what she said, if you want revenge, do it yourself. Don't come to me. I'm not interested. As he spoke, the blue-robed man led the two women beside him towards the mansion. He was really not interested. If he went to any random branch family member who came to him for help, he would probably be exhausted and wouldn't be able to rest every day. Moreover, he had a beautiful girl to accompany him and wouldn't have the mood to care about such things. Moreover, it would be the aristocratic family competition in a few days, and he still had to bring the Nangong family members to participate. He didn't want to waste his energy on such unimportant things. Nangongyu looked anxious. Seeing that the blue-robed man was about to enter the mansion, this opportunity was fleeting. He suddenly had an idea and said, Ling Shu, my father's death is very likely because he discovered the Baiming family's secret. The blue-robed man paused and frowned. This news was a little interesting. Secret? What secret? The vivacious girl's eyes lit up as she asked hurriedly. The blue-robed man said telepathically, legend has it that the ancient Kitami clan is guarding a huge secret. However, no one has discovered it all these years. No one has discovered it after so many years. I guess it's fake. The vivacious girl was slightly disappointed and curled her lips. It's hard to say. However, since ancient times, most cultivators of the three aristocratic families are willing to believe in this legend, the blue-robed man said. Nangongyu saw that the blue-robed man had stopped and was silent. He also realized that he had hit the nail on the head. He braced himself and continued. My father must have discovered this secret and was killed to silence him. Of course, this was Nangongyu's nonsense. However, logically speaking, it made sense. Moreover, it was related to the secret of the Kitami clan. The blue-robed man was also a little tempted. Why don't we go and take a look? The vivacious girl secretly urged. She didn't care about revenge. She was just curious about the secret and couldn't resist the itch in her heart. Hanyan, what do you say? The blue-robed man turned and looked at the white-robed woman beside him and asked gently. I'm fine with anything. The white-robed woman smiled slightly. You're the owner here. It's up to you. I'll just watch from the side. Then let's go and take a look. The blue-robed man made a decision. Anyway, there are still a few days before the aristocratic family competition. Let's go to Baiming Town and see what secrets there are. Nangongyu was overjoyed. The elders behind him were also beaming with joy. No matter what, their relationship with this Ling Shu had become closer. Bitch, who told you to be so arrogant? Nangongyu looked in the direction of Baiming Town and gritted her teeth. She sneered. Kitsune, just you wait. I Nangongyu am back. Chapter 1348. Baiming Town. Sister, don't worry. I'm still at the early stage of the Jin Dan realm. However, I've awakened the Jin Dan phenomenon. I'll definitely shock everyone in this aristocratic family competition. Baiming Ao said confidently. Cultivation was not easy. 2 years ago, Baiming Ao was already at the early stage of the Jin Dan realm, and even condensed the Jin Dan phenomenon. However, he still could not break through after 2 years. Kitsune smiled gently and helped Baiming Ao tidy up his collar, reminding him, Little brother, don't underestimate any of your opponents in the aristocratic family competition. You must be extremely careful and prioritize your own safety. In 3 years, Baiming Ao had already grown into a 15-year-old youth and was almost as tall as Kitsune. Kitsune was also 18 years old and was becoming more elegant and refined. Sister, don't worry. Baiming Ao raised his fist and said in a deep voice, Given my combat strength, even if I can't defeat the other party, I'll be able to escape unscathed. After pausing for a moment, a vicious glint flashed through Baiming Ao's eyes as he continued, Sister, don't worry. I'll definitely find Dongfang Ji and avenge you. There's no need. Kitsune shook her head. I'll deal with this matter myself. Baiming Ao was stunned. He did not understand how his sister, who was now a cripple with her Jin Dan, would deal with this matter herself. For the past 3 years, he had spent most of his time in the clan's main hall, cultivating with many of his peers in the town, and did not return much. 3 years had passed. Naturally, his body had changed quite a bit. The strangest thing was that Baiming Ao could vaguely sense that this sister of his seemed to have undergone some indescribable changes as well. Sister, the aristocratic family competition is in 3 days' time. I've got to make a trip to the ancestral hall. The old clan leader still has some instructions for us. Baiming Ao stood up and bid farewell. Go on. Kitsune nodded gently and smiled. Baiming Ao turned and left. After leaving, he intentionally glanced at Su Zimo, who was not far away, and harumphed coldly. For the past 3 years, Su Zimo had not left at all. Baiming Ao's attitude towards him had changed as well. At the very least, it wasn't as hostile as it was initially. Mr. Su, is your injury still not better? Kitsune came to Su Zimo and asked with concern. Over the years, her cultivation had grown, her spirit had improved, and her chi and blood were vigorous. However, Su Zimo still looked the same. His face was yellowish and didn't show any signs of improvement. Kitsune was also worried. Su Zimo smiled helplessly. The power of the life-severing curse was extremely difficult to deal with. He had been unable to dispel it for 3 years. The fact that the witch race could be ranked as one of the primordial 9 races was indeed terrifying. There are many spiritual objects in this world. Is there any treasure that can cure your illness? Kitsune asked again. I might need the primordial divine spring, Su Zimo said casually. Primordial divine spring? Kitsune looked confused. She had never heard of it before. Su Zimo smiled. He was only saying it casually, and naturally did not expect to get any information from Kitsune. A moment later, Kitsune lowered her head slightly and whispered, Mr. Su, sorry to disappoint you. I didn't manage to cultivate the final transformation. Su Zimo smiled, and his gaze turned gentle. You've already cultivated it very well. Su Zimo nodded. Baiming Shue's expression was a mixture of surprise and joy. For the past 3 years, Su Zimo had always been extremely strict with her, and had never praised her as such. Su Zimo said, I wasn't wrong about you to be able to cultivate to Wu Dao's 8th transformation in 3 years. It's extremely difficult to cultivate Wu Dao's final transformation successfully. You might need an opportunity or some pressure. It's not your fault. Right now, Kitsune was already at Wu Dao's 8th transformation, Invincible Diamond. Su Zimo said. Even if you didn't cultivate Wu Dao's final transformation, your current combat strength is enough. Kitsune clenched her fists slightly and looked at her hands. Up till this point of her cultivation, she had yet to fight against a true paragon of Jin Dan realm. Therefore, she wasn't sure what level her battle prowess could reach. There were no Jin Dan phenomenons when she cultivated Wu Dao. Could she truly be able to fight against many ancient phenomenons with her body? A moment later, Kitsune suddenly raised her head and looked at Su Zimo with a complicated expression. After 3 years of interaction, no matter how muddle-headed she was, she could deduce that Su Zimo had an extraordinary background and was definitely a cultivator. Otherwise, how could an ordinary mortal have such a deep understanding of Wu Dao? Furthermore, Kitsune was smart. She could vaguely guess that this Mr. Su might have a special identity that was inconvenient for him to reveal. Therefore, she did not pursue the matter for the past 3 years. However, she still decided to do something today. Mr. Su, I was able to be reborn for the past 3 years because of your teachings. With a resolute gaze, Kitsune knelt down slowly and raised her head. I'm not an ungrateful person. If you don't mind, I'm willing to acknowledge you as my master and never betray you for the rest of my life. If I go against this oath, the human god. Su Zimo shook his head gently and reached out to touch Kitsune's forehead, interrupting her solemn oath. Actually, the reason why I imparted the Wu Dao to you was because I wanted to take you in as a disciple. Su Zimo said, however, my identity is special. If you were to become my disciple, you would probably have to endure unimaginable dangers and disasters. Therefore, I haven't mentioned this for the past 3 years. Kitsune looked fearless. I'm not afraid. I'm worried that as a member of the Kitami clan, I'll implicate you. You'll implicate me. Su Zimo could not help but laugh. The worst-case scenario for the Baiming family was that they would only be facing the 3 aristocratic families. What kind of enemies would he be facing? Su Zimo said, how about this? I'll tell you my identity. It's up to you whether you want to acknowledge me as your master or not. Master, no matter who you are, I won't regret it. Kitsune did not say anything else. She kowtowed to Su Zimo. All right. Seeing that Kitsune was so decisive, Su Zimo did not refuse. He helped Kitsune up and said in a low voice, since you've acknowledged me as your master, you're my eldest disciple. I'll do my best to protect you. If he had not accepted Kitsune as his disciple, Su Zimo would have left today. He imparted his teachings to Baiming Shui and stayed here with her for 3 years. Although they were not master and disciple, it could be said that he had settled some karma. However, now that he had accepted Baiming Shui as his disciple, he could not leave as he pleased. At the very least, he had to accompany Kitsune to the end of the aristocratic family tournament. At this moment, Su Zimo's expression changed. As if he had sensed something, he frowned and looked towards the horizon. Someone was coming, and they were not friendly. Su Zimo speculated that the person was most likely someone from the Nangong family. After all, the 3rd Jining Jinjuan of the Nangong family had been dead for so long. It was impossible to hide it. The Nangong family would come knocking on their door sooner or later. Su Zimo's expression turned cold. He said indifferently, Baiming, stand behind me. I'll show you what I'm capable of. As he spoke, Su Zimo carried a chair and sat in the courtyard. He looked calm as he waited for the Nangong family to come knocking. Kitsune stood behind Su Zimo. She did not know why, but she was secretly excited. Chapter 1349. Above Baiming Town, Nangong Yu and 3 nascent soul elders rode a gigantic spirit vessel and tore through the air with a murderous aura. Dermic powers rumbled around the 3 Jining Jinjuan, and their auras were rampant. The moment they arrived in Baiming Town, they caused a series of exclamations. Over the years, the Kitami clan had been on the decline. Most of the people from the 3 aristocratic families who came to the town to show off were juniors, foundation establishment cultivators, and perfected Jin Dan. Jining Jinjuan were rarely seen. But now that the 3 Jining Jinjuan had arrived, the pressure on the cultivators of Baiming Town increased exponentially. The 3 Jining Jinjuan have arrived at the same time. They're definitely hostile. The 3 Jining Jinjuan look murderous. I wonder why they're here. There's probably going to be blood today. I wonder which unlucky family will be the one to suffer. They seem to be heading towards Kitsune's courtyard. Some members of the Kitami clan discussed softly. Right then, many cultivators who were cultivating in the clan hall walked out one after another when they sensed the commotion outside. Baiming Ao stood in the crowd and looked into the distance. His expression changed starkly. "Sister," Baiming Ao exclaimed. He could clearly see that the gigantic spirit vessel in midair had stopped above their house. 4 people walked down from it, and one of them was Nan Gongyu. The other 3 were Jining Jinjuan. Baiming Ao pushed through the crowd and rushed over. However, he had only taken a few steps when his arm was grabbed tightly by a withered hand. "Don't go over." Behind Baiming Ao, a skinny old man hollered. "Clan leader, don't hold me back. Nan Gongyu and the others are hostile. I have to go over and take a look." Baiming Ao shouted anxiously. "It's useless even if you go over." The patriarch of the Kitami clan shook his head and said, "Your combat power may be comparable to Nan Gongyu, but he still has 3 Jining Jinjuan with him. Jining Jinjuan can mobilize his mana and kill you with a single thought. But that's my sister." Baiming Ao continued to struggle. However, the clan leader of the Kitami clan was a nascent soul cultivator after all. He used his magic power to form a thread and pulled Baiming Ao tightly, not allowing him to pass. "Child, this matter is not simple." The patriarch of the Kitami clan looked into the distance and said in a low voice, "Look over there. There are 3 experts walking over. If I'm not mistaken, the man from the Nangong family in the middle should be at the return to void stage." Hiss. The expressions of the surrounding young cultivators changed as they gasped. To them, the return to void stage was simply out of reach. It could be said that a void reversion could destroy the entire Dark North town with a single thought, leaving nothing alive. How long has it been since a void reversion arrived in the town? What exactly happened to alarm a void reversion of the Nangong family? Kitsune is most likely doomed. I hope we won't be implicated. Some of the Dark North tribesmen whispered with wary expressions. Baiming Ao's body trembled slightly, and his eyes were bloodshot. The patriarch of the Kitami clan sighed internally. "Child, it's better to stay here and watch. If this void reversion expert wants to harm Kitsune, you won't be able to do anything even if you rush over. You might even die. If this void reversion expert doesn't intend to harm Kitsune, it's the same even if you don't go over." Even though that was the case, Baiming Ao had to watch his sister face Nan Gongyu, Jining Jinjuan, and even a void reversion. For him, that was an immense torture and pain. Baiming Ao's eyes were bloodshot, and his breathing turned heavy as he grit his teeth. "If anything happens to my sister, I'll definitely make them pay with their lives." At that moment, Nan Gongyu and the 3 Jining Jinjuan had already descended and landed in Kitsune's courtyard. Due to the tall walls, Baiming Ao and the others naturally could not see what was happening inside. However, the more that was the case, the more tormented Baiming Ao felt. Sigh, let's hope that Kitsune is blessed by the heavens. The patriarch of the Kitami clan sighed. Actually, he knew that if even a void reversion was alarmed, this was definitely not a small matter. Kitsune was most likely doomed. Outside Dark North Town, the blue-robed man and the other 2 were in no hurry to enter Dark North Town. Instead, they stood on the clouds and looked down at the tiny town below. "This is Dark North Town?" The white-robed woman sighed. "To think that an aristocratic family that was on par with you guys in the ancient era would end up in such a state as well." "That's right. In such a small town, the highest cultivation realm is Jining Jinjuan. What secrets can there be?" The lively girl shook her head. Initially, she was still looking forward to it. But now, the town looked ordinary, and the cultivators in it were bullied by the 3 aristocratic families all year round. They were lifeless and lifeless. "Hanyan Xianxian, let's hurry over as well and see what kind of background that outsider has." The blue-robed man pointed in the direction of Nan Gongyu, and the others not far away. "Yes," the white-robed woman nodded. The 3 of them rode on an auspicious cloud and floated towards Kitsune's courtyard in a flash. Before they arrived, the blue-robed man and the other 2 looked down. The courtyard was not big, and did not have any extra decorations. A green-robed man sat in the middle of the courtyard with an indifferent expression, while a slender girl stood behind him. "That sister is so beautiful." The lively girl could not help but praise. The moment she said that, the lively girl felt her legs go soft, and she almost fell from the auspicious cloud. "Senior brother Nangong, what are you doing? Why can't you control your auspicious cloud when you see a beautiful sister? Senior sister Hanyan, you've got to discipline him properly." The lively girl grumbled. However, no one replied. The air seemed to have frozen, and the atmosphere turned strange. The lively girl turned around and saw the blue-robed man and white-robed woman looking down in shock with looks of disbelief. The blue-robed man's lips trembled slightly as he stuttered. "Mas. What is it?" The lively girl followed their gazes and looked towards the courtyard. When she saw the green-robed man, she was so shocked that she jumped up from the auspicious cloud. In the courtyard, Nangongyu came before Su Zimo and scanned Su Zimo and Kitsune before sneering. "No wonder a SL*T like you is so arrogant. So you found a helper. How should I address you, fellow Taoist?" Nangongyu asked sarcastically. Su Zimo said calmly, "My name is Su Zimo." "Oh, I've never heard of you." Nangongyu shrugged with a disdainful expression. The three nascent soul elders also raised their heads and laughed. "A year ago my father and 2 old servants died outside Baiming town. Do you know about this?" Nangongyu stared at Su Zimo and asked slowly. "I killed them," Su Zimo said indifferently. Kitsune's heart skipped a beat. A year ago, the 3 storage bags that her master gave her were indeed from the Nangong family. "You're courting death." Nangongyu initially wanted to test him. However, he did not expect that Su Zimo did not hide anything and admitted it directly. "Move aside." Right then, a soft shout sounded from behind Nangongyu. The blue-robed man and the other 2 had already descended and were walking over quickly. Nangongyu looked at Su Zimo as though he was looking at a dead man. He said with a menacing expression, "Su Zimo, Ling Shu is a void reversion that I invited. Today, I'll let you know the reason for your death." Chapter 1350. Void Reversion. Initially, Kitsune was still very confident in Su Zimo. However, her heart skipped a beat when she heard that it was a void reversion. Instantly, she turned nervous and glared at the blue-robed man. To her, void reversions were unreachable existences that she had to look up to. This Ling Shu had an extraordinary aura and was clearly a direct descendant of the Nangong family. In Kitsune's opinion, no matter how strong Su Zimo was, he would not be a match for a void reversion. In fact, she was even prepared to step forward and shoulder everything. Just as her thoughts were racing, the blue-robed man and the 2 women had already arrived before her with excited expressions. Suddenly, the blue-robed man paused and turned around to look at Nangongyu beside him, asking slowly, "Just now, who do you want to die?" "Him." Nangongyu pointed at Su Zimo with an arrogant expression. "You're the one who has a death wish." The blue-robed man slapped Nangongyu's face with the back of his hand, and with a loud shout, he heavily slapped her. Piak! The power of that slap was so great that Nangongyu was sent flying from where she was and rolled dozens of feet away. Half of her face was swollen, and her bones were shattered. This change was extremely sudden. Not to mention Nangongyu, who was caught off guard. Even Baiming Shui, who was tensed up, was shocked. Her first reaction was that the other party had hit the wrong person. However, right after, an even more shocking scene happened. The blue-robed man bowed deeply towards Su Zimo in the manner of a junior and said respectfully, "Greetings, Granduncle Master." The 3 nascent soul elders were dumbfounded, and their jaws almost dropped to the ground. Granduncle Master?" Kitsune blinked, and her mind was in a mess. She had a calm personality. Even if her life was hanging by a thread, she would still be able to maintain her composure. However, at this moment she had lost her composure. Could it be that not only did this Ling Shu hit the wrong person, he even recognized the wrong person? "Nangong Ling, it's you." Su Zimo glanced at the blue-robed man and said faintly. The blue-robed man before him was the disciple of Dao Lord Scarlet Star of Extreme Fire Sect. Back when Su Zimo returned to 100 Refinement Sect with Extreme Fire, he happened to encounter Nangong Ling and the other two being surrounded by Hellfire Hall. At that time, Su Zimo felt that Nangong Ling had a sense of pride in her bones. She seemed to have an extraordinary background. Who would have thought that he was actually from one of the three great aristocratic families? Behind Nangong Ling were Yu Hanyan and Ru Xian. According to the seniority of Extreme Fire's lineage, Nangong Ling and the other two had to address Su Zimo as Granduncle Master. "Greetings, Granduncle Master." Yu Hanyan's white robes fluttered as she walked forward as well. She suppressed the excitement in her eyes and bowed deeply. However, Ru Xian did not care too much. She leaned forward and said in surprise, "Granduncle Master, you're still alive. That's great. We thought that something had happened to you, and we were sad for you for a long time." Ru Xian was straightforward and sincere, saying whatever was on her mind. Nangong Yu had just struggled to get up from the ground. When she saw this scene, she was also stunned. Ling Shu actually addressed this person as Granduncle Master? What seniority was this person? Could Su Zimo be a member of my Nangong family as well? Nangong Yu was already in a headache after being slapped. Now that she was filled with so many doubts, her head was about to explode. However, the three nascent soul elders who came with him had terrible expressions. They did not think that much. They only knew that if Su Zimo was Nangong Ling's Granduncle Master, they had hit a metal plate this time round. Kitsune was confused. She could tell that Nangong Ling and the other two did not bow to Su Zimo as a greeting when meeting an elder. Instead, it was respect and concern from the bottom of their hearts. Is that how Master's methods are? It's truly unexpected and caught me off guard. Kitsune lamented internally. "Granduncle Master, why are you in the southern region?" Nangong Ling said respectfully, "Let me know in advance that you're coming to the southern region. I'll definitely pick you up." Nangong Ling was truly convinced by Su Zimo. Back in the Middle Continent, Su Zimo had saved their lives. Yu Hanyan looked at Su Zimo's expression worriedly and asked softly, "Granduncle Master, are you injured? You don't look too good." "My essence spirit can't channel the injuries from Heaven and Earth Valley, and I can't use dermic powers now," Su Zimo said casually without hiding anything. Kitsune's heart skipped a beat, and a thought flashed through her mind. Just now, Su Zimo's words seemed to have revealed an extremely important piece of information. However, the thought flashed through her mind, and she could not figure it out for a moment. "Granduncle Master, how should I treat this injury? What elixirs and herbs do you need? Tell me and I'll ask my family later. I'll definitely think of a way to get them," Nangong Ling said. Su Zimo shook his head. "There's nothing I can do. The three aristocratic families definitely did not have the primordial divine spring. Otherwise, this news would have spread in the cultivation world a long time ago." "Granduncle Master, what are you doing in Biming Town?" "This is..." Nangong Ling's gaze landed on Kitsune as he asked carefully. "This is my eldest disciple Kitsune," Su Zimo said indifferently. "Ah." Nangong Ling was slightly stunned. However, he reacted quickly and bowed to Kitsune hurriedly. "Greetings, Granduncle Master, Nangong Ling." Just now, the change was truly too fast and Kitsune had yet to digest it completely. Now that she saw a direct descendant of the Nangong family, avoid reversion, bow to her, she was shocked and hurriedly turned sideways, waving her hand. "Senior, there's no need for that." "Greetings, Granduncle Master." Right then, Yu Hanyan bowed to Kitsune as well. Ru Xian greeted with a grin as well. Be it Yu Hanyan, Ru Xian or Nangong Ling, their statuses and cultivation realms were far above Kitsune's. Now that the three of them were bowing to her at the same time, she truly felt uneasy. "It's fine." Su Zimo glanced sideways and nodded to Kitsune. "You're my eldest disciple, and your seniority is naturally higher than theirs. There's no need to feel burdened. Just accept it." Upon hearing Su Zimo's consolation, Kitsune gradually got used to it and said, "There's no need to be so courteous. Get up." "Thank you, Granduncle Master." Nangong Ling and the others stood up straight after bowing. In 100 Refinement Sect, etiquette and seniority were extremely important. Right then, Nangong Ling took out a shimmering silver inner armor from her storage bag and handed it to Kitsune, saying in a deep voice, "Granduncle Master, this is a defensive inner armor that I personally refined. It's a perfect great spirit weapon. Please accept it, Granduncle Master. This gift is too precious. Kitsune blushed and declined hurriedly. Perfect great spirit weapons were extremely rare in the cultivation world. Not to mention her. Even the cultivators of the three great clans did not possess a perfect great spirit artifact. Nangongyu, who was at the side, was jealous when he saw that. He had been in the Jindan realm for so long, and only possessed a supreme great spirit weapon. However, it was broken by Kitsune. He did not even have a chance to obtain a perfect great spirit weapon. Chapter 1351. Kitsune looked at Suzumo helplessly. Take it. Suzumo nodded with an indifferent expression. As his eldest disciple, it was truly nothing much for her to accept a perfect great spirit weapon. His essence spirit could not be used, nor could he open his storage bag. Otherwise, he would be able to take out at least 10 Khanate spirit weapons from his storage bag. Upon hearing Suzumo's words, Kitsune received the silver inner armor. Even with her calm personality, there was a hint of joy in her eyes. The Baiming aristocratic family once had a strong foundation as well. However, they were constantly oppressed and plundered by the three aristocratic families over the years. No matter how strong their foundation was, it had long been depleted. The Khanate, perfect and supreme grade spirit weapons passed down by the Baiming aristocratic family, had long been snatched away by the cultivators of the three aristocratic families. Right now, it was already rare for cultivators of Baiming Town to have a superior grade spirit weapon. Yu Hanyan and Ru Xian took out 2 perfect grade spirit weapons from their storage bags and handed them over as well. Kitsune hesitated for a moment before accepting them. Looking at the 3 perfect grade spirit weapons in her hands, Kitsune felt as though she was in a dream that was unreal. Earlier on, she was still that lowly existence of the Kitami clan. But now, even the void reversions of the Nangong family had to address her respectfully as Uncle Master, just because she acknowledged Suzumo as her master. What kind of person is master? A hint of confusion flashed through Kitsune's mind. So it's a coincidence. Senior, you're also a member of the Nangong family. Nangongyu walked over in trepidation. Her cheeks were swollen, and she could not even speak clearly. However, she forced a smile. Junior Nangongyu greets Senior. Nangongyu reacted extremely quickly. When she saw that the situation was not right, she lowered her head and bowed to Suzumo. My surname is not Nangong, nor am I a member of the Nangong family. Suzumo didn't get up. He just stared coldly at Nangongyu and said. Nangongyu's expression froze. He had thought that since Suzumo was Nangong Ling's martial granduncle, he must be a member of the Nangong family. However, he had made a huge mistake. Suzumo's surname was Su, not Nangong. Even if Senior isn't a member of the Nangong family, you must be famous. Nangongyu is blind to want to find trouble with you. Please forgive me, Senior. Nangongyu smiled embarrassedly and lowered her head submissively. She no longer cared about her face and lowered her head completely. Yes, yes. The 3 nascent soul stage old men hurriedly followed suit. You might have heard of my Dao title before, Suzumo said indifferently. I'm Araki Takashi. Araki Takashi. Those 2 words seemed to possess a magical power. The expressions of Nangongyu and the 3 Jinying Jinjuan froze on their faces. Only their eyes were filled with endless fear and shock. The 4 of them were trembling slightly. In the entire cultivation world, there were not many people who could scare cultivators to the point of trembling with a single Dao title. Suzumo was definitely one of them. Notwithstanding the fact that Nangongyu was only at Jindan realm, and the 3 Jinying Jinjuan, even the titular disciples of the super sects would shudder at the mention of Araki Takashi. Up till this point of his cultivation, Araki Takashi had risen against the trend and stepped on the corpses of the paragons and monster incarnates beneath his feet. Kitsune opened her mouth slightly, and her beautiful eyes were filled with deep shock as well. Araki Takashi. Her master was the famous Dao Lord Araki Takashi of the cultivation world. It was no wonder why her master had such a thorough understanding of Wu Dao. It was no wonder why her master was unwilling to reveal his identity the entire time. It was no wonder that her master was worried that she would be implicated if he took her in as a disciple. There was only a single reason. Her master was Araki Takashi. The moment she heard that news, Kitsune's heart was filled with endless joy and pride instead of worry or fear apart from shock. Araki Takashi established the Tao and imparted martial arts to all living beings. To begin with, she had immense respect for Araki Takashi. No matter what rumors were circulating outside, Kitsune believed that Tao Lord Araki Takashi had a magnanimity that no one else could match. That magnanimity surpassed that of anyone from the orthodox sects and cultivators who claimed to be on the righteous path. Kitsune would be immensely satisfied even if she had the chance to meet Araki Takashi, let alone acknowledge him as her master. After Suzumo said that, he did not say anything else. Suddenly, the entire courtyard fell into dead silence. Nangong Ling lowered her head slightly, and a cold glint flashed through her eyes. Turning around, he looked at Nangong Yu and the other three and said slowly, "The four of you, don't leave this courtyard today." Suzumo did not say anything else. However, the moment he said his Tao name, Nangong Yu and the other three had to die. Right now, Suzumo was on bad terms with some of the super sects of the immortal Buddhist and fiend sections. If they knew that Suzumo was not dead yet, those super sects would definitely make a move. Furthermore, Suzumo's essence spirit was injured, and his combat strength was greatly reduced. If Nangong Yu and the other three were to leave, it would be equivalent to placing Suzumo in an extremely dangerous place. Thud! Thud! Nangong Yu and the other three knelt down one after another, their faces pale from fright. We're from the Nangong family after all, and the same blood flows in our bodies. Ling Shu, please spare us. Uncle Ling, please be magnanimous. After we leave, we definitely won't say anything. Nangong Yu cried bitterly, and was already on the verge of a mental breakdown. Nangong Ling's expression was calm and unmoved. There were thousands of branch families of the Nangong family. As a direct bloodline descendant, he did not have any feelings for these branch families. In his heart, Suzumo was much more important. Swoosh! Suddenly, a tricolored flame appeared in Nangong Ling's palm. Samadhi Dao Fire. Nangong Ling had already obtained the legacy of the extreme fire lineage. Although his Samadhi Dao Fire was much weaker than Suzumo's Samadhi Dao Fire, it was more than enough to deal with Nangong Yu and the three Jinying Jinjuan. Flames instantly enveloped Nangong Yu and the other three. Ah! Nangong Yu and the other three screamed. Flames surged into the sky. In the blink of an eye, Nangong Yu turned into ashes. He was only a perfected being Jin Dan, and could not withstand the burning of the Samadhi Dao Fire. As for the three Jinying Jinjuan, they only lasted for a moment before dying completely. Their flesh and bones were incinerated by the Samadhi Dao Fire. As the direct descendant of the Nangong family, Nangong Ling had once joined 100 Refinement sect and experienced many storms. She had even followed Suzumo and witnessed shocking battles, such as the Thousand Crane Tea Party. To be able to cultivate to this point, he was not a soft-hearted person. Standing behind Suzumo, Kitsune looked at the dust that drifted down slowly in midair, with a complicated expression, and lamented. Right from the beginning, Suzumo did not stand up or attack. With just a few words, Nangong Yu and the other three were buried here. Clouds and rain with a flip of his hand. That was his master's methods. Chapter 1352. Baiming Town in front of the clan hall. Baiming Ao looked at the blazing flames in the courtyard far away, and called out with a trembling voice, "Sister." He could no longer hold back his tears, and they flowed down instantly. When he saw that, Baiming Ao's first reaction was that his sister had already died in the sea of flames. The faint screams that came from the courtyard must have come from the green-robed man with the surname Su. The clan leader of the Kitami clan shook his head and sighed deeply as well. The remaining members of the Kitami clan had fearful expressions as well. Although they were far away, the energy fluctuations emitted by the Dao fire caused everyone's hearts to palpitate. That was the power of the void reversion realm. My condolences, child. The clan leader of the Kitami clan looked at Baiming Ao and reminded, "Now that things have come to this, you mustn't be rash. Otherwise you'll definitely die." The clan leader of the Kitami clan said earnestly, "There's only hope if you're alive." Biming Ao gradually stopped crying. It was as though he had grown a lot in that instant. That's right. There's only hope if you're alive. Biming Ao gripped his fists tightly with a cold expression. In the courtyard, Nangong Yu and the other three were reduced to ashes, leaving behind 4 storage bags. Nangong Ling picked up the 4 storage bags and wiped away the spirit consciousness on them. Without even looking, she handed them to Su Zimo. Take them. Su Zimo glanced sideways and gestured for Kitsune to come forward. Kitsune was gradually getting used to her identity. When she heard Su Zimo's words, she took the 4 storage bags and kept them in her own storage bag while thanking him. Will you be in trouble after killing the 4 of them? Su Zimo looked at Nangong Ling and asked. Don't worry, Uncle Master. Nangong Yu is only a collateral bloodline with the surname of Nangong. No one will care about them. Nangong Ling said. Moreover, as a direct descendant of the Nangong family, I still have some status among the younger generation of the family. That's good. Su Zimo nodded. Nangong Ling said again. Martial granduncle, don't worry. I'll definitely take care of this matter. There won't be anyone from the Nangong clan looking for trouble with you. Su Zimo asked. Why did you come back this time? Nangong Ling replied. My family summoned me back to bring my clansmen to participate in the aristocratic family tournament. I invited Han Yin and Xian Xian to come over and relax. Who are the participants of the aristocratic family tournament? Su Zimo muttered. Will the patriarchs of the 3 great families show themselves? I won't. Nangong Ling shook her head. The aristocratic family tournament is only a fight between the foundation establishment cultivators of the younger generation and perfected Jin Dan. As for the patriarchs of the 3 great families, they are all conjoint body mighty figures. Naturally, they won't show themselves. Generally speaking, the 3 great families will send out the more outstanding paragons of their families to bring their clansmen to participate. This time round, I'm the commander of the Nangong family. Su Zimo nodded slightly and asked again. Are the commanders of the Dongfang and Shimin aristocratic families also void reversions? More or less, Nangong Ling said. After all, this is only a fight between the younger generation. Seniors with high cultivation realms will not show themselves. A void reversion is enough to suppress the situation. After pausing for a moment, Nangong Ling continued. However, the aristocratic family tournament this time round is at Shimin Villa. This villa is an important place for the Shimin family, and there will definitely be some Dharma Daojun there. As for whether there are any conjoint body mighty figures, I'm not sure. Su Zimo nodded. If it was just a Dharma Daojun, it would not be a threat to him. Even if his essence spirit was restrained, and he could not use dermic powers or release any dermic arts, it would be difficult for the other Dharma Daojun to hurt him. If there were conjoint body mighty figures, it would be much more troublesome. Qinglian's true body alone would not be able to injure a conjoint body mighty figure. Of course, unless he had no choice, Su Zimo did not intend to become enemies with the 3 great aristocratic families. Nangong Ling could vaguely understand the meaning behind his words and asked probingly, Granduncle Master, are you planning to attack the 3 great aristocratic families? If Su Zimo had such plans, he would be in an extremely awkward situation. On one hand, he was a direct descendant of the Nangong family. On the other hand, he was also a disciple of the extreme fire lineage. Su Zimo could tell that Nangong Ling was worried and shook his head. You don't have to worry. I don't want to interfere in the feud between the 3 great aristocratic families and the Kitami clan. However, Su Zimo changed the topic and said slowly, Kitsune is my disciple. If anyone dares to bully her, they will be enemies with me, Araki Takeshi. Nangong Ling's heart skipped a beat as she nodded. I understand, Granduncle Master. Yes, if there's nothing else, you guys can head back first. Su Zimo waved his hand. Granduncle Master, we just arrived and you chased us away before we could even speak to you. Ru Xian pouted slightly and complained. Let's go. Granduncle Master will definitely attend the aristocratic family competition in a few days as well. Yu Hanyan pulled Ru Xian and smiled gently. Nangong Ling and the other 2 bowed to Su Zimo before turning to leave. In front of the clan's main hall, When he saw Nangong Ling and the other two leave on an auspicious cloud, Baiming Ao could no longer hold it in and sprinted home with a sorrowful expression. Worried that something would happen to Baiming Ao, the clan leader of the Kitami clan followed closely behind. The remaining members of the Kitami clan rushed over as well. Bang! Baiming Ao pushed open the door and barged in. The moment he barged into the courtyard, he was stunned and dumbfounded. He had originally thought that his elder sister had died long ago, and that man surnamed Su had also been burned to ashes by the fire. However, he did not expect that these two people would appear in front of his eyes alive. The man surnamed Su leaned back in his chair with his eyes half closed with a relaxed expression. Baiming Shui was standing right behind him. Between her eyebrows, there was a hint of joy. This? Baiming Ao was a little stunned and could not recover for a moment. Some members of the Kitami clan came over as well, and could not help but be shocked when they took a look inside. Kitsune was not dead. What the hell? Who was the one who was screaming in pain after being burned to death? The clan leader of the Kitami clan stood at the entrance with a stunned expression as well. Just now, Nangong Yu and the others had arrived with a ferocious killing intent, and even a void reversion was invited over. Yet Kitsune was fine. Something was wrong. The clan leader of the Kitami clan frowned slightly, feeling that something was amiss. Nangong Yu and the other three seemed to have vanished into thin air. The clan leader of the Kitami clan looked at the ashes in the courtyard, and his pupils constricted as he thought of a possibility. However, that possibility was way too ridiculous. Would someone from the Nangong family kill one another? Sister, are you alright? Baiming Ao rushed to Kitsune's side with a delighted expression, and sized up Kitsune from head to toe. In fact, he could not help but pinch himself viciously. It hurts. Baiming Ao grinned and laughed. It's not a dream, it's not a dream. Ha ha ha, sister is fine. Kitsune's gaze landed on some members of the Kitami clan at the entrance and declared, Sorry for making you guys worry. I'm fine. Thereafter, Kitsune whispered, Little brother, tell them to disperse and close the door. I have something to tell you. Yes. Baiming Ao was delighted when he saw that Kitsune was fine. Without thinking much, he rushed to the entrance and waved. Disperse, my sister is fine. Chapter 1353. Sister, what's going on? Baiming Ao closed the door and could not help but ask, Where's Nangong Yu and the others? They've left. Kitsune replied ambiguously. If she were to tell the truth, it would be difficult to hide Su Zimo's identity. She was intelligent and extremely cautious. She knew that Su Zimo's identity was sensitive, and she could not reveal it casually even if he was her biological brother. Left. Baiming Ao was confused. Kitsune changed the topic and asked, Little brother, the aristocratic family tournament is about to begin. What's your weapon? Baiming Ao was delighted when he heard that question, and took out a flying sword from his storage bag. There were 3 spirit patterns etched on the sword. It was a superior grade spirit weapon. Sister, look. Baiming Ao said smugly. The old clan leader gave this to me. There aren't many superior grade spirit weapons in the entire Baiming town. The foundation of the Kitami clan had long been snatched away by the 3 aristocratic families. Even the cultivation techniques and secret manuals of the Kitami clan were snatched away by the 3 aristocratic families, let alone spirit weapons and dermic weapons. A superior grade spirit weapon is not bad either. Kitsune nodded. However, you'll still be at a disadvantage against perfected being Jean Dan of the 3 aristocratic families in the aristocratic family tournament. Perfected being Jean Dan of the 3 aristocratic families would have at least 1 supreme grade spirit weapon to participate in the aristocratic family tournament. It was normal for some of the peerless geniuses and monster incarnates that were heavily groomed by their families to possess perfect or connate spirit weapons. For example, Dongfangji, who destroyed Kitsune's Jean Dan, possessed 2 connate spirit weapons. One of them belonged to the Baiming family. It's fine. Baiming Ao gripped his fists gently. I have the Jean Dan phenomenon. Even if I lose in terms of weapon, I'll definitely be able to get a good ranking. The old clan leader told me that if I can get into the top 100, I'll make a request to the 3 aristocratic families to allow me to leave Biming Town and explore the outside world. As long as I leave the territories of the three great families, the sky is high and the sea is wide. Who knows? I might encounter some kind of opportunity and soar to the sky. Sister, don't worry. When the time comes, I will definitely take you with me. Kitsune's heart warmed. She nodded and said, "Little brother is considerate." She glanced at Suzimo with some hesitation, but still took out a flying sword and a silver inner armor from her storage bag and handed them over. Kitsune said, "Little brother, take these two spirit tools. You'll have a better chance at the aristocratic family tournament." Biming Ao did not think too much about it. He took it and asked casually, "Sister, where did you get this spirit artifact?" Biming Ao's expression changed slightly as he glanced around. He could clearly see that there were 5 spirit patterns carved on the body of the flying sword. Could it be? Biming Ao was in disbelief as he channeled his spiritual energy into it. Whoosh! The body of the sword trembled and emitted a dazzling light. "A perfect spirit artifact!" Biming Ao exclaimed. He once again infused his spiritual power into the silver armor. Whoosh! A silver light barrier burst forth from the inner armor and shone with 5 spirit lights as well. It was also a perfect spirit artifact. Biming Ao was shocked. "Sis, you this? Biming Ao stuttered as he spoke. After all, up till this point of his cultivation, he had not even touched a supreme-grade spirit artifact, let alone a perfect spirit artifact. He was already overjoyed when the clan leader of Kitami clan gave him a superior-grade spirit artifact. Now that he was presented with 2 perfect spirit artifacts, one could imagine how great of an impact that was. Kitsune was worried that Suzimo would not agree to it. Therefore she was hesitant. However, in her heart, she still loved her younger brother and was worried that he would be in danger at the aristocratic family tournament. As such, she took out 2 of the 3 perfect dermic weapons that Nangong Ling and the other 2 gave her. However, right from the beginning, Suzimo did not express anything. He sat at the side quietly with his eyes closed, as though he was indifferent to the matter. "Little brother, don't ask me about the 2 spirit artifacts. I can't tell you." Noticing Biming Ao's confusion, Kitsune shook her head. Although Biming Ao was curious, he held it in. He only knew one thing. At the very least, his sister would not harm him. Keeping the 2 perfect spirit artifacts, Biming Ao's gaze landed on Suzimo beside him instinctively. He could not help but extend his leg and kick Suzimo's seat. "Hey, why are you still here and not leaving? How many years has it been?" Biming Ao said in annoyance. Kitsune's expression changed as she scolded sternly. "Little brother, don't be rude." "Sister, I didn't say anything." Biming Ao muttered softly. Before he could finish, he was interrupted by Kitsune. "Little brother, apologize to Mr. Su." Kitsune's expression was stern as she said slowly. Her tone was firm and unquestionable. Biming Ao had never seen his sister this strict before. Although he was indignant, he was also a little afraid as he cupped his fists at Suzimo unwillingly. "Mr. Su, I'm sorry." Suzimo's expression was calm, and he did not open his eyes the entire time, as though he was already asleep. What was his identity? He would not be calculative with Biming Ao over such matters. Biming Ao pouted his lips and looked at Suzimo with even more disdain. However, because of Kitsune, he swallowed back the sarcastic words that were about to come out of his mouth. Kitsune waved it off. "All right, continue cultivating in the ancestral hall. Don't expose the matter of the perfect spirit artifacts yet." "Don't worry, sister." Nodding his head, Biming Ao did not linger and turned to leave. "Master, you won't blame me for giving the 2 spirit artifacts to little brother, right?" Kitsune pondered for a long time and asked softly, still feeling uneasy. Suzimo opened his eyes and smiled, shaking his head. "What's the big deal about that? It's just 2 perfect spirit artifacts. They're nothing impressive." His essence spirit was sealed, and he could not open his storage bag. Otherwise, any random treasure he took out would far surpass any perfect spirit artifacts. Just now Suzimo was considering what to give Kitsune as well. Right now, he was still not at Daiyu's level, where all the gifts he could give were utmost treasures that could change a person's fate. However, Kitsune was his eldest disciple after all, and he could not give her something that was too shabby. After pondering for a moment, Suzimo removed a string of Buddha beads from his left wrist and handed it to Kitsune, saying indifferently, "I've worn these Buddha beads for many years. I'll give them to you today." "Thank you, master." Kitsune received the Buddha beads and observed them carefully, but could not make out anything. There were no traces of spirit patterns or spirit chi on the Buddha beads either. It looked ancient and seemed like it had been there for a long time. Kitsune did not think too much about it and wore the Buddha beads on her wrist casually. At that moment, she did not realize that the Buddha beads were the cornerstone treasure of a super sect in the cultivation world. The Mingwang prayer beads. Even a conjoint body mighty figure would be tempted and fight for the Buddha beads, let alone a perfected being of Jin Dan. Chapter 1354. As an important place of the Shimen family, the Shimen villa was usually heavily guarded and no outsiders were allowed to enter. But in the past 2 days, the Shimen villa had suddenly become lively, because the grand competition of the 3 aristocratic families was about to begin. The elites of the 3 aristocratic families had arrived at the Shimen villa, under the lead of their respective commanders the day before to participate in the grand competition. The Shimen villa had naturally arranged accommodation for the cultivators of the Dongfang family and the Nangong family. There were also many spiritual fruits and immortal wines for them to eat and drink. In a corner of the Shimen villa, the Kitami clan had gathered. There were about 10 of them. Suzimo, Kitsune, and Baiming Ao were among them. "Sai, the Kitami clan has already fallen to this point. We don't even have a place to stay. Looks like we have to spend the night in the open. The 3 aristocratic families don't even take us seriously. Why would they arrange accommodation for us?" Some of the Kitami clan members complained softly inside. The leader of the Kitami clan frowned slightly and shouted, "All right, we're here to participate in the grand competition of the aristocratic families. If you can get a good ranking, you'll be proud of the Kitami clan." At this moment, a group of cultivators wearing brocade robes walked over. They looked proud and arrogant. "It's Dongfang Xian." Baiming Ao saw the leader and could not help but grit his teeth. The one beside Dongfang Xian seems to be the monster of the Shimen family, Shimen Jingrui. "I heard that he's already engaged to Dongfang Ji and will be her cultivation partner soon." Marriages between the 3 aristocratic families were common. Hehe. Dongfang Xian's laughter was heard before he arrived. "Aren't you the legendary Baiming family? Sorry for the disrespect." Dongfang Xian smiled, his tone full of sarcasm. The members of the Kitami clan lowered their heads and blushed. However, they did not dare to make a sound. Dongfang Xian put on an act and said, "Brother Jingrui, this is the fault of the Shimen family. The Kitami clan is an ancient aristocratic family. How can you be so negligent and not even arrange accommodation for them?" "Baiming family?" Western Jingrui looked confused and said, "Why haven't I heard of it? There are so few people in the ancient aristocratic families. How come they aren't as prosperous as my Shimen clan?" "Sai, perhaps they have declined." Dongfang Xian sighed and said, "But they have declined. After all, they are still an ancient family. If this can be called an ancient aristocratic family, then wouldn't there be aristocratic families everywhere?" Shimen Jingrui shook his head and said, "No, no. Ha 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 ha." The cultivators of the aristocratic families behind the 2 of them laughed without restraint. The 2 of them echoed each other, completely disregarding the Kitami clan. Dongfang Xian, Shimen Jingrui, don't be so smug. Baiming Ao's expression was icy cold as he suddenly spoke. "If you meet me, Baiming Ao, at the clan grand competition, I'll definitely make you lose all your face." Hehe. Shimen Jingrui sneered and ignored Baiming Ao. As a monster incarnate of the Jin Dan realm, he could be considered as the number 1 of the Shimen family, and was even comparable to the paragons and successors of the super sects. Why would he take Baiming Ao, an early-stage Jin Dan cultivator, seriously? However, Dongfang Xian's expression darkened, and a killing intent flashed through his eyes as he said coldly, "Little B** starred. Watch your words. Otherwise I'll kill you right now." Cultivators are prohibited from fighting in the villa. before the competition begins. Bai Ming-ao said coldly. Hee. Dongfang Xian sneered. That's between the three aristocratic families. In our eyes, cultivators of the Kitami clan are merely ants. We can crush you to death with ease. Dongfang Xian's words were not a threat. If he were to kill a cultivator of the Kitami clan in the villa, no one would punish him. There was no absolute fairness in the cultivation world. The prerequisite for fairness was that both parties had to be of equal strength. Bai Ming-ao, that's enough. The leader of the Kitami clan shouted hurriedly and bowed towards Dongfang Xian and Shimen Jingrui, smiling apologetically. Both of you are giants among men. Bai Ming-ao is still young and doesn't know any better. Please don't lower yourself to his level, young masters. Who allowed you to come out? Dongfang Xian raised his brow and scolded coldly. Old thing scram. Let that little be **starred. Bai Ming-ao, apologize to me personally. As Jining Jinjuan, the leader of the Kitami clan had a cultivation realm above Dongfang Xian's. However, he could only endure Dongfang Xian's scolding silently, and retreated with a sigh. It was as though he had aged significantly in an instant. Right from the beginning, Kitsune did not say anything. Her expression was cold as she clenched her fists tightly and endured. Su Zimo would not make a move either. He would let go of this matter completely, and let Kitsune handle it. Unless someone crossed his bottom line. Bai Ming-ao stood in the crowd motionlessly with fire spewing from his eyes. Why? You're unwilling? Dongfang Xian glared and grinned. If you don't apologize to me, the entire Kitami clan will be in trouble. Go apologize. It's nothing much. That's right. After all, you were the one who provoked him. It has nothing to do with us. Some of the Kitami clan members could not withstand the pressure and whispered. Bai Ming-ao clenched his teeth so hard that creaking sounds could be heard. His face was ashen. Right then, a group of cultivators walked over from afar. They wore the Nangong family's robes, and were rather eye-catching. The leader was the Jindan paragon of the Nangong family, Nangongshi. Among the three major aristocratic families, Nangongshi of the Nangong family, Dongfangji of the Dongfang family, and Shimen Jingrui of the Shimen family, were known as the three paragons of this generation of Jindan. Among them, Nangongshi was the most famous. What are you guys doing here? Nangongshi walked closer, smiled at the crowd and asked aloud. Brother Nangong, you came at the right time. Dongfang Xian said. The little bastards of the Kitami clan are blind and offended me. I was just about to teach them a lesson. Nangongshi smiled and said, What a coincidence. I have something to do as well. I'm inviting the three cultivators of the Kitami clan to my place. With that, Nangongshi looked at Kitsune and Bai Ming-ao, and cupped his fists. Fellow Taoists, please follow me. Thereafter, Nangongshi's gaze landed on Su Zimo. And this gentleman, please follow me as well. Nangongshi, what do you mean? Dongfang Xian frowned and asked coldly. Nangongshi said indifferently, Nothing. I'm inviting the three cultivators of the Kitami clan. Are you going to stop me? Brother Nangong, you're in the wrong. Shimen Jingrui said. It's fine if you want to invite the three of them, but Bai Ming-ao has to apologize to Dongfang Xian before he can leave. Oh, Nangongshi said expressionlessly. Nangongshi, don't say that. With that, Nangongshi nodded at the Kitsune siblings and led them away. Su Zimo smiled faintly and followed behind. Dongfang Xian and Shimen Jingrui's faces were dark, but they were wary and did not stop them. The members of the Baiming clan all revealed looks of envy. Chapter 1355. Naturally, Bai Ming-ao was confused. Su Zimo and Kitsune were the only ones who knew the reason. Thank you, fellow Taoist Nangong. Bai Ming-ao cupped his fists towards Nangongshi and thanked him. However, Bai Ming-ao's eyes were still filled with wariness. One who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. His first reaction was that the Nangong family was trying to rope them in to obtain some groundless secret. Nangongshi smiled and was not bothered. Instead, his gaze lingered on Kitsune and Su Zimo for a couple of rounds. He merely received orders to bring the three of them over. Furthermore, the commander of the Nangong family, Nangong Ling, had given a clear order that the three of them were not to be neglected. However, Nangongshi could not see anything special about the three of them. Baiming Ao was young and was a little rash. On the other hand, Kitsune was beautiful and elegant with an extraordinary aura. However, she was crippled after Dongfangji shattered her Jin Dan. 100 years of her lifespan was gone in the blink of an eye. As for the green-robed man, he could not see through him. Nangongshi shook his head. There were no signs of cultivation on that person, and he looked like a mortal scholar. However, he did not seem uneasy in Shimen Manor, the territory of cultivators. In fact, he was even calmer than the cultivators of the three aristocratic families, as though this was his own home. Nangongshi brought the three of them to a residence and smiled. The three of you can rest here tonight. The competition will only officially begin tomorrow. If there's anything, just summon the servants of the Nangong family. With that, Nangongshi turned and left. That's it. Baiming Ao was confused. He was still wondering what Nangongshi was up to by saving them, and how he should deal with it. However, the other party turned and left. Come in and rest. You have to be refreshed for the competition tomorrow. Kitsune called out to Baiming Ao. This was a courtyard in Shimen Manor that was rather exquisite. There were fake mountains, flowing water, and a lush spirit garden. There were even some servants of the Nangong family inside. The place where the direct descendants of the Nangong family stayed was nothing more than this. What is this Nangong clan up to? Baiming Ao was still confused, but when he thought about the competition tomorrow, he temporarily suppressed these thoughts and began to rest and recuperate, preparing for tomorrow's great battle. Early the next morning, the manor that had been silent for the whole night gradually became lively. The members of the Kitami clan spent the whole night in the open air of the villa. The cold wind was bone-chilling. Although it was nothing for cultivators, they were still a bit dispirited. At this moment, Kitsune and Baiming Ao walked over. After resting for a night, Baiming Ao was full of vigor. Let's go. The head of the Kitami clan called out, and headed towards the center of the villa. The aristocratic family tournament was set up in the most central area of the mountain villa, surrounded by spectator seats. The commanders of the three aristocratic families were seated, while the rest of the clansmen were standing. The spectator stands were arranged in a circle, and in the middle was the battlefield. The battlefield was divided into 10 huge platforms that rose from the ground. At this time, the spectator stands were almost full of people, and there was a hubbub of voices. The cultivators of the three aristocratic families had all arrived. At a glance, they were densely packed, and it was a spectacular sight. Yo, the Baiming family is here too? Hee. In my opinion, they are here to embarrass themselves. Many of the cultivators laughed when they saw the members of the Kitami clan, and their expressions were full of mockery. We don't have any seats here, scram to the side. A cultivator of the Shimen family scolded. In fact, there was an empty seat beside them, and it was more than enough to accommodate dozens of people. The head of the Kitami clan sighed in his heart. He did not argue, and led his clansmen to the other side. Having lived to this age, he had long since lost the hot-bloodedness to fight for supremacy. He had expected to be humiliated in the aristocratic family tournament. Everyone from the Kitami clan, come over here. Nangongshi waved at the members of the Kitami clan. Suzimo swept his gaze across. On the Nangong family's side, Nangong Ling, Yu Hanyan, and Ru Xian were sitting high in the spectator stands, surrounded by many spirit fruits and immortal peaches. Nangong Ling stood up hurriedly and wanted to walk towards Suzimo. Suzimo shook his head slightly. Nangong Ling finally stopped. Isn't this Nangong Ling? A chuckle sounded from afar. A cultivator of the Shimen family sat on a huge carriage and floated in midair, walking over slowly. There were many young and beautiful girls surrounding the carriage. The cultivator of the Shimen family had a relaxed expression as he drank his wine and said faintly, "You've been out training for many years. How have you been?" Shimenze. Nangong Ling raised her brow. Shimenze was the commander of the Shimen family this time round, and was in charge of the aristocratic family competition. Nangong Ling, you probably don't even know us after joining one of the 4 unorthodox groups, 100 Refinement Sect, right? A void reversion of the Dongfang family flew through the air, with an unfriendly expression. Dongfang Yi, the commander of the Dongfang family this time round. The three of them were cultivators of the same generation and had known each other since they were young. However, Nangong Ling headed to the Middle Continent to train and join 100 Refinement sect, while Shimanzai and Dongfang Yi cultivated in aristocratic families. The three of them had different trajectories. However, they were all elites of the same generation after all. Now that they were at the Void Reversion realm, they were famous. Although what happened last night was merely a small conflict between the juniors, Dongfang Yi and Shimanzai had already received the news. Therefore, the moment they met Nangong Ling today, their tones were sarcastic. Nangong Ling smiled faintly and ignored the two of them. Su Zimo stood in the crowd. He could not use his spirit consciousness and could only rely on his vision and hearing to scout his surroundings. As Nangong Ling had said, there were no cultivators with high cultivation levels present for this aristocratic family competition. The commanders of the three aristocratic families, Shimanzai, Dongfang Yi and Nangong Ling, were all at the Void Reversion realm. There were also some void reversions around the three of them. However, Su Zimo could sense that Dharma Daojun was definitely in this villa. As for conjoint body mighty figures, he could not detect them. Actually, Su Zimo was not interested in the aristocratic family competition at all. The reason why he was here was because he was worried about Kitsune. As his eldest disciple, there was no way he could leave Kitsune alone. At the very least, he would only leave after this matter was over. The sect competition had already begun. The foundation establishment cultivators of the aristocratic families ascended the stone platforms one after another and fought in pairs. A few foundation establishment cultivators of the Dark North aristocratic family also stepped forward. However, before long, the Dark North aristocratic family members were defeated by the cultivators of the three aristocratic families. At most, they could only make it through 2 rounds before being swept away. The Dark North aristocratic family did not have any cultivation techniques, spirit weapons, or elixirs. However, the cultivators of the three aristocratic families had countless resources and the guidance of experts of their families. The difference in strength between the two sides was huge. Each time the Dark North aristocratic family was defeated, the crowd would mock them. "Little brother, don't be nervous. Given your strength, it won't be a problem for you to make it to the top 100. Kitsune consoled softly. Yes, Dark North aristocratic family nodded. It wasn't even noon yet, but the foundation establishment cultivator competition had already ended. Immediately after, it was the fight between perfected being Jean Dan. Chapter 1356. There were not many people from the Kitami clan participating in the perfected Jean Dan competition. Including Baiming Ao, there were only 3 of them. A few years ago, Kitsune's Jean Dan was crippled and she lost her qualification. All these years, she had been focusing on cultivating Wu Dao and did not mention this matter again. Kitsune's gaze pierced through the crowd and landed on a woman with a cold and arrogant expression among the Dongfang family's crowd. Dongfang Ji. A few years ago, Dongfang Ji was the one who snatched her treasure and even broke her Jean Dan. She had never forgotten about this incident. Although she did not participate in the aristocratic family competition today, she would definitely settle this matter with Dongfang Ji. As if sensing something, Dongfang Ji glanced sideways and exchanged glances with Kitsune. Dongfang Ji's lips curled into a disdainful smile. In her eyes, Kitsune was a cripple who was no longer worthy of her attention. The Jean Dan competition began. The other 2 members of the Kitami clan were defeated by their opponents very quickly. Baiming Ao, on the other hand, had already defeated 3 opponents and entered the 4th round. Initially, no one noticed Baiming Ao. However, when Kitsune passed the 7th round, and there were less than 100 opponents left, she finally attracted the attention of the 3 aristocratic families. This meant that Baiming Ao was now in the top 100 of this Jean Dan competition. To think that the Kitami clan could produce such a person, that's rare. The leader of the Shiman family, Shimanzai, narrowed his eyes with a cold glint. It's nothing much, Dongfang Yi said indifferently, he'll go up against Dongfang Xian. At that time, Dongfang Xian can easily suppress and cripple him. Time passed quickly. The members of the Kitami clan were getting more and more nervous as they watched Baiming Ao fight on the stone platform. Right now, there were less than 20 opponents left for Baiming Ao. Baiming Ao wins. A cultivator from an aristocratic family announced loudly. On the stone platform, Baiming Ao was panting slightly. He was already drenched in sweat from the continuous battles, but he still looked extremely excited. Just now, at the most critical moment, he had used the perfect grade flying sword that Kitsune had given him to defeat his opponent. Currently, his ranking had already reached the 20th place. If he were to quit while he was ahead and admit defeat, he would still be able to obtain extremely generous rewards. He might even be able to request the 3 aristocratic families to go out and train. However, Baiming Ao still did not want to withdraw, because his next opponent was Dongfang Xian. He wanted to defeat Dongfang Xian fair and square. Little brat, it seems that we've been too lax in our plundering of your possessions all these years. You actually have a perfect spiritual weapon on you. Dongfang Xian leaped onto the stone platform and said coldly, "If you hand over this perfect spirit artifact now, I might spare your life. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." Dongfang Xian, cut the crap and accept the challenge. Baiming Ao hollered and waved his sleeves, summoning his perfect grade flying sword and attacking first. The flying sword turned into a streak of light and pierced towards Dongfang Xian. Humph! Dongfang Xian's expression turned cold as he swiped his storage bag and summoned a perfect grade flying sword as well, slashing forward. Clang! Sparks flew everywhere as the 2 perfect grade flying swords collided. Baiming Ao's expression changed slightly. He had expended a huge amount of stamina after the entire battle. Furthermore, he was only at early stage Jin Dan while Dongfang Xian was already at late stage Jin Dan. There was a difference of 2 minor cultivation realms between them. It was clear that Baiming Ao felt powerless in this head-on clash. Clang! 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 Both of their flying swords fought with speed. Dongfang Xian was clearly more skilled, and his sword techniques were complicated, unpredictable. As for Baiming Ao, he did not cultivate any advanced sword-wielding techniques, and merely used some basic sword techniques. Before long, Baiming Ao was completely suppressed by Dongfang Xian. Jin Dan phenomenon. Finally, Baiming Ao could not hold on any longer, and released the power of his phenomenon. A boundless ocean appeared behind him, emitting a cold aura, and causing the surrounding temperature to plummet. It's the Northern Ocean. After so many years, someone has finally managed to cultivate the legacy phenomenon of the Baiming family. A series of exclamations sounded from the crowd. At the spectator area, Shimen Zhe and Dongfang Yi had indifferent expressions and were indifferent. As void reversions, they were discerning and could naturally tell that Baiming Ao was already at the end of his rope. Even if he summoned the Northern Ocean, he would not be able to last for long. Purple Qi from the east. Dongfang Xian hollered softly and summoned his Jin Dan phenomenon as well. A beam of purple Qi appeared behind him, emitting a brilliant glow and a powerful rare phenomenon as it collided with the Northern Ocean. Boom! Instantly, a series of raging waves burst forth when the purple Qi collided with the Northern Ocean. Seawater splashed. Baiming Ao's face was frightfully pale, and his phenomenon swayed. It was about to collapse. It was not that his Jin Dan phenomenon was not strong enough. Instead, his spirit energy was already depleted, and he could not withstand such a head-on collision. Admit defeat. The clan leader of the Kitami clan shouted hurriedly. The Kitami clan admits defeat. The aristocratic family competition was still mainly about sparring, and not fighting to the death. As long as one party admitted defeat, the other party could not be ruthless. However, Dongfang Xian was unmoved when he heard the clan leader of the Kitami clan shout. Instead, his eyes shone with a sinister killing intent as he said coldly, "It's too late to admit defeat now. This brat is arrogant. I'm going to cripple him today as a warning to others." Boom! Dongfang Xian channeled the Jin Dan in his body to its limits, and the purple Qi shone brightly. Instantly, it broke through the Northern Ocean, and landed in front of Biming Ao's chest. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Biming Ao's chest shone with a silver light and blocked most of the Jin Dan phenomenon's power. Even so, Biming Ao was still sent flying far away. He spat out a mouthful of blood and looked dispirited. If it was not for the silver inner armor that Kitsune gave him, he would be a dead man by now. Another perfect spiritual artifact. The Kitami clan's foundation is still strong. Biming Ao already has 2 perfect spiritual weapons. He's not dead. Dongfang Xian's expression turned cold. He leaped up with purple chi behind him and chased after Biming Ao, who was outside the stone platform. Biming Ao has already admitted defeat and fell from the stone platform. You can't kill him anymore. The clan leader of the Kitami clan stood out and shouted, "Old man, you better mind your own business." A Jining Junjuan from the Dongfang family said slowly, "The rules of the aristocratic family tournament are only for us 3 aristocratic families. The Kitami clan is nothing." Before Biming Ao's body landed on the ground, Dongfang Xian had already caught up with him. "Brat, let's see who can save you today." The power of the phenomenon behind Dongfang Xian surged violently and smashed towards Biming Ao. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of Biming Ao like a ghost. Kitsune. Kitsune slowly extended her palm and clenched it into a fist. She punched towards Dongfang Xian and said coldly, "Get lost." Chapter 1357. Kitsune. That woman's Jin Dan is crippled. Is she courting death? Everyone from the Biming family is truly idiots. Against Dongfang Xian's Jin Dan phenomenon, even low-grade spirit weapons will be shattered, let alone bodies of flesh and blood. Many cultivators burst into laughter when they saw that. Of course, there were some who did not laugh. Su Zimo had an indifferent expression and merely watched everything quietly. At the spectator area, Nangong Ling, Yu Hanyan and Ru Xian did not laugh either. That was because they knew that Kitsune was the disciple of Granduncle Master Araki Takashi, eldest disciple. In their knowledge, Granduncle Master Araki Takashi was extremely protective. As Granduncle Master's eldest disciple, Granduncle Master would definitely value and love her greatly. In the cultivation world, cultivators had long lifespans, and at the end of their cultivation, they would usually not have any relatives left. Therefore, the relationship between master and disciple was often more important than bloodline clansmen. Even though Granduncle Master's essence spirit was injured, he still protected Kitsune to the aristocratic family competition. It was clear how much he valued his eldest disciple. Who was Araki Takashi? The #1 monster incarnate of history. How could his eldest disciple be ordinary? Kitsune's figure looked frail, and there was no spirit energy fluctuation in her body. Against Dongfang Xian, who had a torrential aura and ferocious spirit energy, it was as though she was a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Kitsune's fist collided with Dongfang Xian's purple chi. Boom! The incomparably ferocious purple chi dissipated instantly. Dongfang Xian was stunned and shuddered, as though he was struck by lightning. He flew back at an even faster speed and landed heavily on the stone platform. Poof! Dongfang Xian spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face was frightfully pale. His tendons and bones felt like they were about to break, as he laid on the ground screaming. He was more than half crippled, and could not even stand up, let alone fight. That seemingly insignificant mantis managed to shatter the chariot. It was just a single punch. The laughter from the spectator area did not stop. The battle was already over. The expressions of the cultivators stiffened. Their jaws dropped as their eyes widened in disbelief. Dongfang Xian was defeated? Furthermore, he was defeated by a crippled Kitsune with a single punch? Even Dongfang Xian's Jin Dan phenomenon had been shattered by Kitsune's physical body? How was this possible? Not to mention the cultivators from the 3 great clans. Even the members of the Kitami clan were flabbergasted. Su Zimo was naturally not surprised by this scene. Moreover, he could tell that Kitsune had not used her full strength. If Kitsune were to unleash her full strength, not to mention the Jin Dan phenomenon, even Dongfang Xian would be smashed into pieces by Kitsune's punch and die on the spot. Pa! Dongfang Ji slammed the table and stood up. Her face was cold as she said, "Bitch!" Wudao! Shimanze scanned Kitsune's body and murmured softly with a slight frown. Only someone who cultivated Wu Dao would not have any spirit energy fluctuations. However, how could Wu Dao be that strong? Sister Yu, Bai Mingao was shocked. He was right behind Kitsune and had a deeper impression of the collision just now. Within Kitsune's body, it was as though he could sense a raging ocean. He had not expected that his sister, who had turned into a cripple after a few years, would be able to unleash such terrifying power. Could this be Wu Dao's strength? Suddenly, Bai Mingao realized that he could no longer see through his sister. Dongfangji said coldly, "Are you guys blind? That bitch has already broken the rules of the competition by attacking without permission. Take her down and dismember her in front of everyone." Nangong Ling sent a voice transmission with her spirit consciousness without batting an eyelid. Nangong she understood and chuckled softly. She stood out and said, "I don't think you can blame Kitsune for this. The one who broke the rules of the competition is not Kitsune, but your brother Dongfang Xian." Firstly, Bai Mingao has already admitted defeat, and Dongfang Xian is still unwilling to stop. Secondly, Bai Mingao has already left the stone platform, and Dongfang Xian is still going to chase him to the edge of the stone platform. Anyone can attack outside the stone platform. To put it bluntly, just now, if I attack and take down Dongfang Xian, it won't be considered breaking the rules. Nangong Shiyu, Dongfang Ji frowned, and her face was frosty. These two were the top two monstrous geniuses of the three aristocratic families. If Shiman Jingrui was included, then if nothing unexpected happened, the three of them would probably be the top three in the Golden Core Realm competition this time. The three aristocratic families had always been on good terms. Dongfangji even had a marriage alliance with Shiman Jingrui. No one expected that Nangongshi and Dongfangji would go against each other because of Kitsune. Could it be that Nangongshi has a crush on Dongfangji and is jealous because Dongfangji is engaged to Shiman Jingrui? That's unlikely. I'm guessing that Nangongshi and Kitsune are together. Although Kitsune has a low status, she's extremely beautiful. The two of them look like a golden couple. Even cultivators couldn't avoid gossiping. Shimanze and Dongfangyi looked at Nangong Ling, who was not far away. Nangong Ling's expression did not change, and she looked straight ahead. The two of them sneered internally. Naturally, the three chiefs would not step in for such a small matter. Nangongshi, what do you mean? Shiman Jingrui could not help but stand out with a terrible expression. Nothing. I'm just stating facts. Nangongshi spread out her hands and looked innocent. I'll take note of this. Dongfangji nodded and looked at Nangongshi deeply. Then she turned to Kitsune and moved to the stone platform. Dongfangji did not hide her killing intent and said slowly, "Bitch, for years ago, I broke your Jin Dan. Now I'm giving you a chance. I'll let you have a fair fight with me in the aristocratic family tournament." Kitsune looked at Dongfangji coldly and fearlessly. She had been waiting for this day for a long time. Kitsune turned to look at Suzimo. Suzimo smiled faintly and said, "Go." Wu Dao is someone who wants to repay kindness and revenge. Today, even if you pierce through the sky, it's fine. Kitsune's heart was filled with pride, and she no longer had any worries. If it was someone else who made such a promise, she would have some doubts. However, since it was her master who made such a promise, she believed that even if the sky fell, her master would hold it up for her. That was because her master was Araki Takeshi, Dao Lord Desolate Marshal, whose name shook the world and established the Dao for all living beings. In an instant, Kitsune's thoughts were clear. In fact, her cultivation that was stuck at Wu Dao's 8 transformation stage loosened at this moment. She could feel the aura of the dragon elephant. Kitsune turned around and walked up the stone platform with firm steps. At this moment, her will of Wu Dao had reached its peak and was unshakable. Under the shroud of this will, Dongfangji suddenly felt a sense of pressure. On the stone platform, Kitsune walked towards Dongfangji, step by step. With every step she took, Kitsune's aura would increase, and the pressure on Dongfangji would increase. Chapter 1358. What a strong blood qi! At the spectator area, Dongfangyi narrowed his eyes slightly. Shimenze nodded as well. Kitsun's bloodline has most likely been cultivated to the level of lead and mercury blood. Among the three aristocratic families, the Shimen family was the strongest in body tempering. However, even Shimen Jingrui of Jin Dan realm could only cultivate to the level of lead and mercury blood, despite the accumulation of resources. Dongfangji's heart skipped a beat. As the most outstanding successor of the Dongfang aristocratic family in the Jin Dan realm, she made the correct judgment right away and retreated, distancing herself from Kitsune. She could not engage in melee combat with Kitsune. The Wu Dao was a method of constantly developing one's potential and tempering one's body. Those who cultivated the Wu Dao were extremely strong in melee combat. Go! Dongfangji slapped her storage bag and waved her sleeves, causing a silver spear to appear before her. The spear vibrated and shone with 6 spirit patterns, shining brightly. It was the Khanate dermic weapon, Heavenly Essence Spear. Cultivators of the Dongfang aristocratic family rarely wielded swords, and most of them wielded spears. In terms of agility, spears were much weaker than flying swords. However, they were superior in terms of strength. Under Dongfangji's control, the Heavenly Essence Spear transformed into a silver streak of light and arrived before Kitsune instantly at a shocking speed. Xiantian-grade weapons had already reached the limit in terms of speed and power. She didn't seem to have done anything, but a long sword with a cold gleam appeared in her hand. The sword trembled and 5 spirit patterns lit up. It was a perfect spirit weapon. That sword was the perfect spirit weapon that Yu Hanyan gave to Kitsune. Kitsune has a perfect spirit weapon as well. The Baiming family sure has some good stuff. Many cultivators revealed looks of envy and jealousy. Suddenly Kitsune struck and slashed with her sword. Clang! Sparks appeared when the sword struck the Heavenly Essence Spear. Under normal circumstances, a Khanate spirit weapon would definitely have the upper hand in a clash between a perfect spirit weapon and a Khanate spirit weapon. However, Kitsune was way too strong. That slash caused the Heavenly Essence Spear to vibrate and send it flying. Boom! Baiming Shui took a step forward and stomped heavily on the ground. Like an arrow leaving the bow, she appeared in front of Dongfangji in an instant. She was too fast. With the burst of Kitsune's body and bloodline, she was able to cover a distance of more than 100 feet. Baiming Shui's expression was cold. She raised her sword and stabbed forward. Before the sword arrived, it emitted a piercingly cold sharpness. Dongfangji felt a faint pain between her eyebrows. Trap. Dongfangji's dermic weapons. She conjured a spirit art aristocratic family's legacy spirit realm. Strange vines and branches grew out of the stone platform beneath Baiming Shui's feet, wrapping around her body and limbs. The Dongfang aristocratic family specialized in wood element spirit arts. As a paragon of the Jin Dan realm of the Dongfang aristocratic family, Dongfangji was even more well-versed in this aspect, and managed to conjure a spirit art in the blink of an eye. Those vines and branches were no ordinary plants. Augmented by Dongfangji's spirit energy, they were not weaker than spirit weapons. Furthermore, there were spikes on the vines that could pierce a cultivator's flesh with ease. Dongfangji seized the opportunity to retreat after the spirit art was released and widened the distance between her and Kitsune once more. Humph! Kitsune scoffed coldly. She had cultivated the Wu Dao technique and was already at the 8th transformation of Wu Dao, Invincible Diamond. Her body was already invulnerable to fire, water and swords. Even a true spirit weapon would not be able to hurt her, let alone these vines made of spirit energy. Kitsune struggled. Crack! Crack! Kitsune broke free from the vines the moment they wrapped around her. In a flash, she chased after Dongfangji once more. Clang! 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 Kitsune waved her sword and slashed repeatedly. Dongfangji made use of her exquisite movement techniques and spear techniques to defend against Kitsune's sword. However, she was completely disadvantaged. Kitsune did not have any sword techniques. However, with the Wu Dao true body as her foundation, the speed and strength of every single slash was unleashed to its limits. Brute force could take down everything. No matter how exquisite Dongfangji's moves were, there was no way she could defend against Kitsune's sword. Kitsune's strength is somewhat terrifying. To think that someone could cultivate the Wu Dao to such a level. I wonder how many transformations Kitsune has cultivated the Wu Dao. The crowd of cultivators whispered to each other. None of them had expected that the battle would develop to such an extent. She's only relying on brute force, Shiman Jingrui sneered. Everyone knows that one can't cultivate the Jindan phenomenon without spirit energy if they cultivate the Wu Dao. That's the greatest advantage of us cultivators. Dongfang Yi sat high above with a calm expression, and was not worried at all. No one knew Dongfang Ji's strength better than him. The moment Dongfang Ji released the Jindan phenomenon, this battle would be over. Kitsune, you're good to be able to force me to this extent. The Jindan within Dongfang Ji's body circulated slowly, and the spirit energy within her surged. A purple aura appeared behind her and shone brightly. Jindan phenomenon, East Rising Purple Qi. Although it was the same phenomenon, the power of Dongfang Ji's phenomenon was clearly several times stronger than Dongfang Xian's. This was not the end. Behind Dongfang Ji's back, a powerful energy fluctuation suddenly appeared. Yet another phenomenon appeared. Many plants appeared behind Dongfang Ji and transformed into ferocious soldiers that charged towards Kitsune. Golden Core phenomenon, soldiers of grass and wood. Dongfang Ji had cultivated 2 Jindan phenomenons. The crowd was in an uproar. Even Nangong Shi had a grim expression. Even he did not have much confidence of winning against Dongfang Ji, who had 2 Jindan phenomenons. It's over. Dongfang Ji rose slowly and 2 Jindan phenomenons circled around her. Her aura was at its peak as she looked down at Kitsune from above. *TCH. It's useless even if you admit defeat now. Dongfang Ji's voice was cold. Initially, her 2 phenomenons were meant to deal with Nangong Shi. However, she had not expected them to be used prematurely. 2 phenomenons. Kitsune's expression was calm, and there was no hint of fear or surprise in her eyes. Indeed, it's time to end this, Kitsune said indifferently. However, I'm not the one who's going to admit defeat. Before she finished her sentence, Kitsune channeled her blood chi with all her might. Splash! Her blood chi surged and the deafening sound of a tsunami echoed from Kitsune's body. Tsunami blood! A series of exclamations sounded from the crowd. Even Shimanzai and Dongfang Yi's expressions changed. They were all void reversions and knew how difficult it was to cultivate to the tsunami blood realm. It was even rarer than a Jindan phenomenon. In the cultivation world, there were many people who could conjure Jindan phenomenons. However, there were only a handful of cultivators who could cultivate tsunami blood. Boom! Against Dongfang Ji's 2 Jindan phenomenons, Kitsune did not retreat or dodge. Instead, she strode forward and soared into the air. Punching with her left hand and sword with her right hand, she was shrouded with Wu Dao's Gang Qi, and was indestructible. Her blood qi surged like raging waves. Boom! Poof! A punch and a sword. The purple qi dissipated, and the soldier was beheaded. Right in front of everyone. The 2 Jindan phenomenons that Dongfang Ji had just conjured were destroyed by Kitsune's punch and sword. The crowd was in an uproar. Chapter 1359. Double phenomenons were all peerless paragons. In this generation, there were less than 5 people who could cultivate double phenomenons. The most famous double phenomenon belonged to the monster incarnate of Chaos Essence sect, Di'in. He cultivated the legacy phenomenon of the human emperor of all eternity, Chaos Ocean. Later on, he fused with the Buddhist phenomenon, world-cleansing Qinglian, surpassing the human emperor, and condensing a shocking chaos Qinglian phenomenon. However, Di'in's glory was completely overshadowed by someone else on the Jindan phenomenon ranking back then. The legendary Dao Lord Araki Takashi cultivated 3 unprecedented Jindan phenomenons and dominated the phenomenon ranking. He swept through everything and suppressed 2 primordial races, shaking the world. That battle also caused Desolate Martial's reputation to soar. Now that they saw Dongfang Ji cultivate a double phenomenon, the cultivators of the 3 aristocratic families were shocked. The cultivators of the Dongfang aristocrat clan were even more excited. They thought that their clan had given birth to a peerless paragon comparable to Di'in and Araki Takashi. However, As soon as the excitement in their eyes was revealed, they saw the following scene, and all of their excitement turned into shock. The two Jin Dan phenomenons were shattered by Kitsune with a single punch and sword. How is that possible? Could it be that practicing martial arts really allowed one to erupt with such terrifying power? Even the commanders of the three aristocratic families, Shimen-zai, Dongfang Yi and Nangong Ling, were shocked, let alone perfected being Jin Dan and Jining Jinjuan. Nangong Ling, Yu Hanyan and Ru Xian knew that Kitsune was Su Zimo's eldest disciple, and were mentally prepared. Even so, the three of them could not help but gasp when they saw that. Standing in the crowd, Baiming Ao was completely dumbfounded. Before this, he had even mocked his sister for cultivating Wu Dao, and looked down on Wu Dao for not having the Jin Dan phenomenon. But now, the power that erupted from Kitsune's body and bloodline was something that even Jin Dan's avatar could not withstand. The two avatars were destroyed by Kitsune in a single strike. For the past 3 years, Baiming Ao had been cultivating diligently in the clan's main hall without slacking off at all. However, he never expected that in just 3 years, he would fall behind Kitsune by so much. The gap between the two of them was getting wider and wider. Is this Wu Dao's power? Which transformation of Wu Dao has Kitsune reached? Before this, there were people who managed to cultivate the Qi and blood Jin Dan, but their strength was definitely not this terrifying. I reckon that Kitsune has already broken through the Qi and blood Jin Dan, and cultivated to Wu Dao's 7th transformation, Astral Trampling. That's right. Just now, when she attacks, her fists and sword are shrouded in a unique layer of power. That should be Astral Qi. Instantly, a wave of commotion broke out in the crowd. Su Zimo was naturally not surprised by that scene. His essence spirit was damaged and he looked listless the entire time. He was drowsy, and his eyes seemed like they were about to close. Nobody knew better than him how terrifying the Martial Sutra was. Of the 9 transformations of the Martial Dao, the last 3 transformations were each a qualitative leap, a complete transformation. Kitsune, who cultivated to Wu Dao's 8th transformation, the invincible Vajra, might be able to fight against her if Di-in, who was at Jin Dan realm, was revived. Dongfang Ji was far from comparable. Changes happened instantly on the battlefield. Dongfang Ji had just condensed 2 Jin Dan phenomenons when they were destroyed by Kitsune. She could not help but shudder, and her face turned pale. Even her organs were shaken violently. A hint of panic and fear flashed through Dongfang Ji's eyes. That punch and sword had not only destroyed her Jin Dan phenomenons, they had also destroyed her confidence, pride, and past glory. Dongfang Ji, you've lost. Baiming Shui stepped forward with a cold look on her face. With a backhand swing, she aimed for Dongfang Ji's head. Go! Right then, a bronze mirror shrouded in blood qi floated over from the battlefield. 6 spirit patterns shone on it, and it shot out a beam of blood light that landed on Kitsune's body. Kitsune's gaze swept to the spectator area. An outsider had interfered. At the spectator area, Shimen Jingrui had an unfriendly expression as he glared at Kitsune on the stone platform with narrowed eyes. Behind his back, he conjured hand seals and controlled the blood-colored bronze mirror in midair from afar. That's the Khanate spirit weapon, Bloodlight Mirror. That seems to be Shimen Jingrui's weapon. Why is it on the battlefield? Many members of the Kitami clan were stunned. In reality, the cultivators of the 3 aristocratic families had naturally recognized that it was Shimen Jingrui's weapon. However, they did not point it out for the sake of their pride. What are you guys doing? The aristocratic family competition is a one-on-one fight. Are you guys trying to bully us with numbers? Baiming Ao was extremely smart, and could not help but holler when he realized what was going on. The crowd sneered and ignored him. At the spectator area, Nangong Ling glanced sideways at Shimen-zai, and Dongfang Yi with a mocking expression. Why? Are you sore losers? The aristocratic family competition is a fair fight. What's the point of this? Dongfang Yi's expression did not change. This isn't some aristocratic family competition. It's a personal feud between Dongfang Ji and Kitsune. Shimen-zai nodded slightly as well. That's right. Jingrui and Ji are already engaged. Naturally, he can't watch her get bullied. It's only right for him to step in. How shameless of you to be able to make it sound so dignified to bully us with numbers. Ru Xian could not help but scoff. Nangong Ling said indifferently, "Guys, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't provoke Kitsune. Otherwise, you won't be able to bear the consequences." Ha ha ha. Shimin Zhe could not help but burst into laughter, as though he had heard the greatest joke in the world. Shaking his head, he said, "I'd like to see how a slut from the Kitami clan can make me unable to bear the consequences in the territory of the Shimin family." Nangong Ling retracted her gaze and stopped trying to persuade him. He had no intention of making a move either. Given his judgment, even if Shimin Jingrui made a move, he would not be a match for Kitsune. The bloodlight mirror was refined from the bones of more than 100 ancient remnant beasts. It was soaked in demonic blood all year round, and emitted an extremely evil aura. The descending bloodlight was extremely harmful to cultivators. In fact, some Jin Dan phenomenons could not even defend against the corrosion of the bloodlight. However, Kitsune merely frowned when the bloodlight enveloped Kitsune. Her blood chi was strong and surged like a tsunami. Even the blood of pure-blooded ferocious beasts could not hurt her, let alone the blood of an ancient remnant beast. However, the sword in her hand dimmed instantly when it was tainted by the bloodlight and lost its sharpness. Thankfully, the sword was a perfect-grade spirit weapon. If it was a supreme-grade spirit weapon, it would have been crippled completely within a few breaths. When she saw that, Dongfang Ji was invigorated and hope reignited in her eyes. Hollering, she wielded the Heaven Essence Spear and stabbed towards Kitsune. At the same time, she withdrew a black metal ruler from her storage bag and injected spirit energy into it. 6 spirit lights shone from the metal ruler. It was another Khanate spirit weapon, space-dispersing ruler. The members of the Kitami clan recognized the Khanate spirit weapon right away. That was because the spirit weapon was a treasure of the Kitami clan to begin with. A cold glint flashed through Kitsune's eyes. Back then, Dongfang Ji wielded the space-dispersing ruler and shattered her Jin Dan. That scene was etched into her bones. Today there was going to be an end. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.